time is this?
Tonight, the revolution begins. I'm expecting a fight, hoping for a war. We are the Bullet Club. I am the greatest living professional wrestler alive. One by one, they will all follow me. Bada boom. Realest guys in our room. How you know? Feed me more.
It's a very, very special time of year because this is the official 1-year anniversary of the New Day. We're turning one. It's so special.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother!
Shut your mouth. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
Well, hopefully your Thanksgiving was not booty, and this is WrestleMax episode 171.
Yes, and our episode this week will not be booty because we got a lot of great things going on, but we want to start out and let everybody know, sadly, Mr. Paul Leeser is not with us tonight. We've had a crazy week, Sean. Things have been going on. The holiday, of course, Thanksgiving, Black Friday. We were actually supposed to have a show on Wednesday before those, but, we all have work schedules that are very difficult at times. Paul's kind of kept him a little later, so that postponed the show. We never want to do this show without Paul. Just to let everybody know. We postpone this show as long as we can because Paul Leeser is just like me and Sean. I mean, we're a group. This is how we do it. But we just got to the point where we had to make a show. We have not missed one since the inception of the show. We couldn't do it. And so Paul understands. And, of course, Sean has also had some issues, and that's what we've had to put it. I've had issues. All three of us have had issues. So we are recording this technically on a Saturday night. Usually it's Thursday night.
Technically, it's a Sunday morning, really.
Well,
early.
Sunday morning. I just, I always go by,
Technically, for us, we still haven't missed the week.
Exactly.
The idea was to get it Saturday night. Really, it's just been, if you work retail, this is the week from hell, basically.
Yeah.
And luckily, what sucked is I did work in the morning on both Thanksgiving and Black Friday, so it wasn't like I had to stay up till 4 in the morning or whatever and do it. It's just one of these where, last night I got surprised with a surprise birthday party, and we did our Thanksgiving last night, and then we got done with the sports podcast, and it was, I think, like 4 in the morning by then, and Paul was like, or no, it wasn't 4, I think it was like around 2 something, and Paul had fallen asleep. This is why we switched the shows around, because we didn't want Paul to go through that anymore, where either he'd fall asleep or he had to stay up so late. And then tonight, I had to be at work till 2:30 in the morning. I'm not joking.
Oof.
I've been there since 4. I had to stay till 2:30.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're here almost at 4 o'clock in the morning Eastern time doing this show.
Yeah.
So,
but at least we're doing one, and that's what I'm excited about. We've missed a lot of time because of this, whole season, but we're going to do a show, and I'm very excited about this show. We've got a lot to talk about. We are going to sorely miss Paul, but Paul will be with us next Thursday, God willing. We shouldn't have any more of these issues. The holiday will pass, and we'll just be into our December routine. But letting you guys know what we're going to do on the show is very easy. We're going to be doing quick hits, Raw, NXT, TNA, and Ring of Honor all today, like always. But we've got a few things added in here that you're going to like. We're talking about the Raw ratings. I know people are wondering why we're going to talk about them, or maybe you're really curious. Those ratings have been low for a little while, and they just seem to plummet. But does it matter? That's the question. We're hearing, from other networks that really ratings aren't the big deal they used to be. So we're going to get into that and a little bit more, a lot of interesting things with that. Plus, Thanksgiving was this past week. We didn't get a chance to do this because we have postponed the show, but we're still going to do it. We're going to talk about what we're thankful for in wrestling. Yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. This is where I really wish Paul was on, but maybe we'll get a little bit from him this following Thursday or this next Thursday coming up. And of course, we're going to crown a superstar of the week. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of exciting things. We want you guys to join in and let us know what you're thankful for in wrestling, of course. So, hey, it's too late for most people to call in, so we're not going to ask you to call in, but we would love to see you post things on the Facebook, like what you're thankful for in wrestling, and of course, maybe some of your own ideas from what we're talking about tonight. So, but without any further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's go ahead and get into some quick hits, and just to let you guys know, we always, have a little sponsor for quick hits. That's right, Math Tumble. It is a fun game that you don't want to miss playing. You know what? You're sitting there at the store and you're waiting in a long line and you're just bored to death. Well, guess what? I've got some entertainment for you. Math Tumble is a fun math game for the entire family. Go join and check out the Looby Loo Productions. They are a lot of fun, and you need to go check them out. So, without further ado, guys, it is time for some quick hits.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right.
There we go. Well, guys, let's go ahead and talk about this. We are big fans of Cesaro. And, of course, we've seen other guys like Cesaro have to deal with these similar things as of late. But Cesaro is going to be out 4 to 6 months with a rotator cuff shoulder injury, and this sucks majorly. We've already seen Randy Orton be on the shelf. Even Randy Orton is going to be on the shelf a little longer. He's going to have some neck problems to deal with along with the other issues he's had. So now they're going to probably have to do some surgery on his neck. But looking at both these guys, Cesaro and Orton, both being out for longer periods of time, this is just, this really hurts WWE, at least depth-wise. But Sean, really, what do you think about this when you're hearing these type of quality guys being out so long?
Yeah, it really hurts the company. Let's not play around. I think, losing your depth, I don't know if I believe, it's hard to believe that story that came out all of a sudden now, too, that apparently Vince was really impressed by Cesaro, and then he gets hurt. That seems like a lot of hogwash to me. Like, it just seems like, oh, well, we're trying to... who knows? Who knows if he comes back, and maybe people are really excited to see him, and maybe, Vince finally turns that corner with him and stuff. But there's no denying that he was getting up there with the crowds. He was certainly... he has that in-ring charisma that not everybody has. I think it's a lot easier sometimes to have the out of the ring charisma than it is to make sure your match is not boring. And even if you are a quote unquote boring wrestler outside of the ring, if they're sitting there paying attention to you and are really excited about what they're seeing in the ring, it's just as important to me, especially in this day and age when the ring stuff is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Work rate, all that stuff, that people talk about all the time is really a big deal. It sucks because he was certainly getting momentum, and now they lose one of those backbone guys.
Yeah, definitely. And this guy is someone that may not have every person in the crowd just going nuts, but he's a guy that a lot of the core fans really enjoy. He has a great work rate. He's a guy that really does matter to this roster because of what he can do and what he can provide. So that's what's a bummer for me with Cesaro being out. I mean, he's missing a lot of opportunities here. Saying that's going to give other guys opportunities. You're going to see some other guys maybe get the chance to flourish here. And hopefully they take charge of that and they do flourish, because we've been talking about it quite a bit here about young guys and how we want to see them do some things to show that they can, really provide and really give some help to what's going on the Monday Night Raws and, of course, even SmackDown. So, is a guy like Tyler Breeze going to be able to step up and fill a role like that? Is some of these other young guys like him going to be able to do it? Let's see. But right now, Cesaro is definitely going to be a big loss for this roster for the next 4 to 6 months, And with Randy Orton, he's already an established star. He's still not going to be there. He'll add on, I think, 3 months to his injury. So that's even longer for him. We don't have John Cena right now. This depth is just not looking good. But, there are some other, guys that aren't really a part of what's going on Monday Night Raw. There's some guys that have been in developmental. Some guys have had some roles with the company. One of those guys is Solomon Crowe. He asked for his release, so they let him go. But he has been spotted on a new indie show, AAW, right, Sean?
Yeah, it's out of Chicago, and one of the guys you hear on here a lot, especially when we're doing those pay-per-view reviews, Patrick Hetza, he likes to go to those shows. And he came back tonight, and it was a big surprise, and everybody was really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the indie circuit loves this guy, and so that's really cool. I'm glad he does get a shot to go over there and get back to his roots a little bit, maybe work out some things, and maybe get back to WWE, or maybe not. Maybe go somewhere else that really appreciates his talents. We saw Brad Maddox get basically released. There are rumors out there that he may have wanted that to happen. We're not going to say that really. We're just going to say he got released. There's no facts to that rumor. But, I mean, those are two guys that, I know there are some fans for them. I was really a Brad Maddox fan personally myself. Solomon Crowe was okay, but Brad Maddox was my guy. I really wanted to see him do something. But, if you want to check those guys out, you'll have to go to the indie circuit or, wherever else they'll be.
Some comedy show for Brad Maddox.
and he's actually, kind of a funny guy. I could totally see him doing that.
He's really talented. It surprises me that, WWE, and he was on Main Event as Beef Mode with Adam Rose sometime, I think last week or the week before. The only way you can watch Main Event concurrently is if you have Hulu Plus, or I think you don't have to have the Plus anymore, but I think they do it like once a month on the network now, is when they just start putting in shows for it. So he did show up on TV once, technically. So, but it's I mean, because he was really talented, and it's we saw him on the Jimmy Fallon thing with Taker as the turkey, so it kind of sucks that even though he was wrestling a lot more, we really didn't get to see him use that very much.
Exactly. I mean, to me, it's a real bummer because just his personality was just there. I think that's why Triple H was a fan of his. He enjoyed his presence and the way he presented himself. But to each his own. And maybe Brad Maddox has a different career path going for him, or has some other ventures he wants to do, and that's great. We just saw
maybe him and Dolph will do their own comedy tour or something.
There you go. That'd be great. Hey, they could even maybe have Foley come and be a part of that too. That'd be awesome. So you never know. That'd be a good touring situation for all of them, I think. Something else that we saw this week, we saw Awesome Kong kind of retire from Japan. She is still going to be doing some things in the States, but she's not going to be over there. That is quite interesting. Her
contract expires with TNA, I think, in January, and by the looks of it, I don't think she resigns there either, because I can't imagine they're going to be able to pay her.
Yeah, it's going to be, I don't know. I'm really curious where she's going with this, because we've seen her stop wrestling, get back into wrestling, kind of make some changes. So it wouldn't shock me if she stopped for a while and later on decided to come back, So that's some other interesting news this week. But, you just mentioned TNA, Sean. I do want to mention the fact that TNA had to cancel their India show. I know we had just talked about it a few weeks ago. That India tour that they were going to be doing is canceled. They cited safety reasons. We, can only go by what they tell us, but there are also thoughts possibly, not enough attendance, maybe not enough tickets sold, things like that. Now, that's, once again, just rumors. That's not fact, but, it really makes you...
Gary, we're a podcast. We can talk about rumors. So
yeah, we sure can. But I just want everybody to be clear. We're not spreading rumors. We're just reporting what the rumors are. And if you want to take it...
I think it's more likely they didn't. I'm going to say that right now. I don't think that's total BS about the logistical things. You can tell me it's logistical crap all you want. It's absolute BS. WWE just had a show called Survivor Series where they had a legitimate threat against that show. But you're going on a tour in a few weeks in a city where something happened. The chances of it happening on the plane where you're switching to go to another country entirely far away from that, it happening there, really, really slim.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that those people even know what the hell TNA is. So, I'm just saying, I don't want to talk about that kind of thing, but I'm just saying that seems really, really far-fetched to me, honestly. I think Sony 6 might have seen the writing on the wall and said, people are not... Even WWE doesn't really go to India that much. And I really think it has to do more with the tickets than with that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, it probably does. And let's be honest, TNA has tried their best to really grab a hold of the foreign market because they have probably a little bit better grasp on them than they do the American public and the market that they have here in the States. People are not buying in. And at least over in Europe, they have some people who are interested. India, I guess, is not as completely interested as they felt that they actually were. So I don't know, man. I just really feel like, that there are some, situations going on there that they're not allowing us to know. I just, I always feel bad if we...
TNA's always been like that, though, Gary.
Yeah.
They let you know what they want to let you know. And then everything else has to come out through somebody else. And then when they actually tell you facts, TNA tries to sit there and tell you that that's not what happened. And then guess what happens? You find out that is what happened. So...
yeah, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, it's like them, this is what's funny, too, is they're going to have their tapings, I think the first part of their tapings over here at Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And they would say, oh, well, we like it there. It's a really great place to have our tapings. But let's be honest, Sean, it's cheap. They can do it there, not spend a whole lot of money. That's not what they're going to tell you. They're going to keep that under wraps. They're going to pretend like it's this great place to have a taping and they can support the fans. But what fans are going to show up? Because I think the last time we saw them in Bethlehem, it was a spattering of fans.
Yeah, it was so bad you could hear the air conditioner when you would anybody would cut a promo. And there's another thing that they're hiding from us that they didn't tell us, that once again we had to wait for Mr. Meltzer to do his investigating. And that's why, I can never, he does get things wrong sometimes, but for the most part, Meltzer does his job. And I mean, we poke fun sometimes when he does get something wrong, but he gets more things right than he gets wrong. And I think this is one of those things that Pop TV is not paying TNA a dime for this TV show. So where are you making money, TNA? It's not from live events because you don't have any, except for this UK tour. Where you're not making money from the TV deal. So exactly what are you making? Your mom and dad are still paying for everything right now, and that's that when you have people that have money, then they know what to do with. I mean, I guess you can do that, but.
Yeah.
That's why I wouldn't expect them to re-sign Matt and Jeff Hardy when their contracts come up in a couple months. That's why Kurt Angle is retiring, basically, because he's retiring. He also wants to not wrestle for a while, but,
Yeah.
To me, TNA wasn't going to be able to pay him again. This
No.
is why they have everybody on a per appearance deal right now, because they can't pay anyone.
Yeah, and you're completely right about that, Sean. And it is going to make people wonder, how are they going to make their money in the future? Well, losing those big stars you just mentioned. I think if they wanted to play devil's advocate, they would say, well, look at the people on Pop TV. There's a lot of shows that are actually shown on that little channel that they do pay to be on there. The other wrestling show out of Nevada has to pay Pop TV to be on there and to be aired.
But now they're not even on there anymore because TNA basically made it known that they didn't want more wrestling on that network.
Yeah. But it's really a break-even thing for both. Pop TV doesn't have to pay them, but they also don't have to pay Pop TV. So, but like you said, where's the other revenue coming from? We don't know. We just have to guess it's the Carters.
I mean, they don't have pay-per-views either.
Oh.
They don't sell DVDs. I mean, it's just, was
Yeah.
it all coming from that YouTube thing? Like, where you have to pay to see a lot of their stuff? I mean, it's just, wow. Sometimes the people that are saying this is such a great thing, get your head out of your ass right now. Like, I mean, you TNA, lovers, you really got to stop with this.
Calling them out, Sean.
But I just, honestly, who's sitting here going, oh, this is the greatest deal ever. We make no money from this. And we do have a caller in right now. Thank you for calling Wrestle the Max. Who is this?
Hello?
Hey, this is
Hey.
Toph calling from Georgia.
Hey, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, what's going on?
You calling to talk about something specific, or?
Oh, well, I got invited to your group a while back, and I'm a part of a lot of wrestling pages, so sometimes it just kind of overlook stuff. So just wanted to apologize for that. I like to help out in different, all types of different wrestling shows, so I like to, contribute. So just want to help out.
Oh, appreciate
man,
it.
That's cool. Is there anything going on in the wrestling world that's concerning you or anything? Just
I think that wrestling is dying in the States, and I think it's alive and well in the foreign countries like Japan, UK, stuff like that. Wrestling's just getting weaker. It's not really fun anymore. There's alternatives like Lucha Underground, there's Ring of Honor, there's TNA, but it's just becoming very apparent to me that wrestling as a whole, it's getting worse. I've been a fan for 20 years, and I feel like we're about a sneeze away from 1995. There's just really no buzz for anything mainstream. When I mean mainstream, I mean I guess what I'm trying to say, there was a time when you could go to a mall and you could see people you didn't even know wear wrestling shirts, and you could just have conversations with them like, oh, cool, NWO shirt. Ooh, cool, DX shirt. Oh, cool, Steve Austin shirt. Nowadays, you see somebody wear a wrestling shirt, and it's like you're defending why are you even wearing a wrestling shirt. And, that's not good. The ratings for WWE are just atrocious. They're getting very close to, TNA's best. And it's true that the game has changed. You have, this podcast. A lot of fans don't have the patience. They're just not going to sit through a 3-hour Raw. So they'll just listen to, fans like us review it. Then you have, if you go to WWE's YouTube account, you have the, I'm sure you guys have seen the, best of Raw and 60-second clips.
Right.
Then you have the dirt sheet sites that, give you full detailed spoilers. Then you have DVR. Right.
1 hour and 30-minute version on Hulu.
Right.
I mean,
right. There's so many different ways to know what's going on in wrestling without actually turning on your TV now. So I understand that and I acknowledge that. That being said, though, you can't deny that there's still many shows on TV like, The Walking Dead. If you're into comic book shows like, Gotham or Arrow or Flash or, there's a lot of stuff that comes on TV and fans DVR that And those shows, they still get 3.5s, 4.0s, 5.0s. People still watch baseball. They still watch basketball. They still watch football. People still go out their way to watch American Idol. They still go out their way to watch Dancing with the Stars. You see all these shows, and they're still getting good ratings. Yet WWE isn't. So it's like, at what point do fans kind of have to, like, you know, put their foot down and say, you know, maybe the product's just not good. So
yeah, you know, it's funny you say that. I'm not sure if you have your computer on. Do you mind turning it down just a little bit? I hear an echo. But, you know, I look at, you know, what's going on and what, you know, the situation you're talking about here. You know, me and Sean here have a good friend named David, and he, you know, really was big into wrestling. Even me and Sean were not. And this guy was all about wrestling all the time, and it just seems like now when I talk to this guy, he's completely happy that he doesn't have cable. He's completely happy not watching Raw. He watches NXT. That's really all he watches, and it's everything you just said. He's completely okay just reading spoilers, reading whatever's on the dirt sheets. He doesn't have to watch Raw, and that is a big problem. And you're right. I could definitely see your points about how it really here in the States, there's not much for people to grab onto because of what is being produced right now, WWE wise, you know, and especially, you know, me and Sean were just talking about TNA and the way down level that they're at now. And you really don't hear about Ring of Honor unless you're talking to hardcore fans. So you're correct on that, and I'm kind of curious to see with the social media age, with the network, how much more that's going to become important, because we are all seeing people cut the cord now. They're going to Hulu, they're going to Netflix. So, you know, is a group like Lucha Underground going to be that next version of what wrestling is? That's what I want to know. Is that the next generation of wrestling?
I think Lucha Underground is probably the closest thing to ECW, only in the sense that during the Monday Night Wars, whatever WWF and WCW was doing, ECW just was doing the total opposite, and that's kind of like what made it really cool. And Lucha Underground is kind of like in that same boat. It's very different from all the alternatives out there, but like ECW, they just need like a bigger TV deal. I mean, watching online is cool, but nothing beats the experience of watching something on TV, particularly HD nowadays. I mean, it really feels more special that way. But I'm a big Lucha Underground fan, and from what I can tell, Lucha Underground Season 2 and Wrestle Kingdom 10, which is going to feature, I believe, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, Okada, and Tanahashi, and a bunch of other cool matches. Those are like the two, I guess, hyped up stuff, I guess. I'm seeing some positive stuff about that. As far as like TNA goes or WWE goes, at least in my circles, it's just kind of head scratching. I'm not really hearing much positivity. NXT is cool, so that's good, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That is. You know, and we talk about when we talk about New Japan we're not doing the World Tag League because it's just right now with all the stuff that's going on, it's just it's too hard for me to keep up with as far as like covering it all the time like I did for the G1. But you know, we do all of New Japan's big shows and we do Lucha Underground every week when it's on. But it's just for me, you know, I agree with you. I wish Lucha Underground was on something besides El Rey and the Spanish channel that it's on, because it deserves a bigger audience. Just so people know that there's other kinds of wrestling out there that it's like, and it's not even like wrestling. It's like watching a TV show, really. You know, that just has wrestling in it, and that's what's cool about it. It does something completely different than what Raw does or what TNA does or even NXT for that matter. It's wrestling matches with like movie storylines and stuff, and we haven't ever seen anything like that before. You know,
Definitely.
I mean, but like, is there anything really you feel like WWE could do to maybe get back into what you would call mainstream, or are they at the point where they can't do anything?
Every time that they have the opportunity to return to the mainstream, well, first of all, this is my first time calling to your show, so I don't want to get you guys in trouble. Like, what kind of rating do you guys have? Is this like TV-14, TV-PG?
Man, just say whatever you want to say. We usually have explicit language.
Okay.
I mean, like we just don't go on a cursing tirade, but you know.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry. I won't do anything like that. To answer your question, like, I feel like anytime WWE has the opportunity to go mainstream, they blow their load early. They prematurely ejaculate. And the CM Punk situation really is that's like the prime example. I mean, when CM Punk walked out with the title, that was the first time that I had seen WWE like talked about on a mainstream level, honestly, like since the Monday Night Wars. Like, even though he was only gone for 7 days, when he showed up at the Comic-Con event, that was cool. He was on Jimmy Kimmel, that was cool. I remember watching MTV TRL, and there was a bunch of people like wearing CM Punk shirts. I was like, wow, like I don't know if anybody remembers, like back in the day, WCW used to have this deal with MTV. There's like this really cool segment between DDP and Raven. So, I mean, when CM Punk did that, that really brought wrestling to a mainstream light, and they just totally blew their load early. They brought him back like 7 days later, and, you know, everyone knows about that, you know, the atrocious... It wasn't a good time. The booking for that particular storyline was not very good. So I don't know what they can do to get back on the mainstream, but I do know that going back to 2 hours would be a help. This 3 hour Raw is just, it's unwatchable. So most of the folks that I know, please tell me I'm not the only one that does this. Most of the folks that I know, what they do is they'll DVR Raw and they'll wait until like 9:15 to like watch, and then they'll just fast forward through all the filler and somehow catch up to like where the actual show is before the show's even over. So I think if they brought back the show to 2 hours, that would help. If they would stop feeding anyone that gets over to John Cena, that would also help too. If they could just stop having booking teams that have like 20 people, that would really help. You just need like 2-3 people, like Paul Heyman, Triple H, and I don't know, one other person. I think all those things would help. So, but I don't know what they could do to be mainstream again. I mean, the roster is kind of depleted right now. I don't really know.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I think the only saving grace you're going to have is you're going to have to find that next big star. Who is it going to be? I don't even know. Right now, I don't see anybody in that even. I don't even see anybody even close. I don't even right now see a Chris Jericho.
There isn't anybody even close. I mean, like, well, Chris Lemsey's calling in here too. Do you have an opinion on this stuff here, or what do you think?
I was actually just going to say the rating for Raw, the 2.16, it is totally deserved because when you watch Raw, when you watch last week's Raw, it is sad to say that there was no stars at all. When you look at it, there's no Cena, there's no Orton, there's no Bryan, there's no Rollins, there's everything about the Raw just screamed mid-card stars, and that's not something you want to attract to like get mainstream fans. And it's totally deserved because that is a result of 50-50 booking, and it's finally bite them in the ass. They deserve that rating. I am glad it got that rating because, again, it's their fault that they have made no stars in the past 5 years. Now, like Punk and Bryan, they became stars in spite of what they did, and even still, yeah, they didn't intentionally make Bryan and Punk stars. That was just in spite of everything they tried to do. Like,
and you know what's sad? They could decide that maybe we need a Daniel Bryan, but would Vince get that desperate and he says, "Oh crap, we got to bring him back"?
At this point, it's getting to that point where they have to bring Bryan back because they have nothing working. Nothing is working at this point. But you can even go back a year, and I will always go back to this. Last year, Dolph could have became the biggest star they ever had after that Survivor Series match, and they did nothing with it. And after that, everything Dolph built up, his momentum, everything just went away because that was I always think that was the final straw for fans. Like, well, they're never going to do anything with Dolph Ziggler, so let's just stop caring about him, and it shows.
I'm really glad you brought that up because to me, I think I have a better answer to your question, what you said earlier. Like, there's things that WWE can do to turn things around. When you talk to a lot of wrestling historians, like Dave Meltzer, or if you talk to Bret Hart, or if you talk to, Jim Ross, whatever, they're pretty cool on Twitter. A lot of, really famous people in the business, they say that one of the best years in WWF or WWE history was the year 2000. And it may not seem like an important year, but if you go back and look at the year, it was actually a very good year because you had a lot of top stars like at the exact same time. Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was injured. So when he was injured, they had Triple H be the top heel. And then while he was the top heel, Rock was the top babyface. But while Austin was gone, Rock got over. So then Stone Cold Steve Austin came back, and it was like, wow, you had two really over babyfaces at the exact same time, and you really don't get that. So you had Rock, you had Austin, you had Triple H, and while that was going on, you had Kurt Angle, who was rising his way up the ranks, so that was another top heel. Then you had guys like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Benoit. Then you had Edge and Christian. Then you had the Hardy Boys. Then you had the Dudley Boys. Then you combined out the hardcore division like Crash Holly, Hardcore Holly. Like, if you look back at 2000, like, that whole roster from top to bottom, like, everybody was over. And what I liked about WWF back then was they were pushing certain people, but if someone got hurt or if someone got injured or if someone went away, they would be like, hey, let's push this guy and let's see where it goes, And if that person got over, great. And it was like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it was a revolving door. It was like a round table of top guys. Like, if you look at the 2000 roster, you had about 5 to 6 dudes that could have been world champion at any point. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was the top draw. He was the top draw of the company, and Steve Austin wasn't even there until like September, and they did just fine. You brought up Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler was sole survivor last year at Survivor Series. It's very clear that that push was meant for Roman Reigns, but Roman Reigns was hurt. So since he was hurt, they were like, okay, let's give it to Ziggler. But Ziggler got over. So they could have continued to push Ziggler, and then Roman Reigns could have came back. Then they could have pushed both of them. Then you would have had 2 baby faces, But instead, for some reason, I want to say, like, since, 2010, Vince McMahon has just kind of been obsessed with just the company having, like, a singular top guy, like the top guy that's, like, on top of everybody else, which is cool. The problem, though, is if that person gets injured or if they decide to take a break, then what do? Like, you put all your eggs on Seth Rollins. Now look where you're at. He's gone.
To go on the Seth Rollins tangent, what they should have been doing with Sheamus the minute he won the briefcase is start building him up. But since like SummerSlam or so, they've been pushing him to this mid-card angle. So when he finally cashed in, actually look at the night that he cashed in. He was a joke in the Survivor Series tag. Then he becomes champion that same night. How do you expect anybody to take him serious at the top draw? Like, I saw the rumors of, like, they're delaying the Reigns title reign because they just want to get sympathy for Reigns. It's like, why would anybody care about anyone beating Sheamus? Because nobody gives a shit about Sheamus right now.
Well,
it would have been great.
It's not even about Sheamus. It's about the fact that they are delaying. All they care about is getting Reigns.
But no, I would say that it is about Sheamus because if he was over as a top heel, people would care about anybody who beats him. But nobody gives a shit about Sheamus. Sheamus comes out, he's to apathy. Like, imagine if he was built up as a top heel to take over Rollins' position, and then people would care about, oh my God, I actually want to see somebody beat Sheamus to cheer. Like, say if Sheamus is built as a hated heel, then you can get fans to rally behind Reigns to beat him. But nobody cares about Sheamus because, for God's sake, 2 weeks before he was champion, Kalisto and Sin Cara beat him.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong there. I'm saying that either way, they have a Roman Reigns who they already screwed up his push a bunch of times. Like,
I think his push is screwed up forever at this point. They've lugered him to. I think they even worse than lugered him at this point.
Yeah, well, that and you got Sheamus, you got, like, I'm not so much on, like, Sheamus, like, okay, we're gonna let Sheamus have his little stable and they're all gonna be in the Authority. All of them should have been higher up the card at that point so that they're already established, and you go, oh crap! Not only is he dealing with Sheamus, but he's dealing with Rusev and Barrett, and then you have Reigns beat them up in the first night that they all align as part of Sheamus's buddies. Like, that's stupid. Like, what? How am I gonna feel any sympathy for Reigns at all if he already beat up everybody? You know.
To be fair, they've been beaten to death before even Reigns did it. Like, they're all just mid-card, lower mid-card heels. They should have. Rusev should be a huge deal than he was right now, and for all the pushes they give Barrett, he should be a bigger deal too. If they would just stop with this 50-50 bullshit, then these three guys could be this big deal that everybody would care about. But at this point, it's like, oh, okay, everybody beats them, so when Reigns beats them, it's just like, oh, let's just another guy.
Right. Yeah. And that's a major problem for them right now.
Definitely. You know,
it's like when you look at the roster right now, there's nobody. We mentioned 2000, like, okay, we had guys like Austin, Rock, Taker,
Kane. And they had a chance too when Reigns was down to make Ambrose into a big thing. You know, remember when he was having his feud with Rollins and he was getting over, and then all of a sudden, oh, Reigns is coming back. We can't have Ambrose keep getting over. Like,
well, all of a sudden there was a hologram of Bray Wyatt and the exploding TV, then all the
yeah, the debacle.
They just lost sight. It's like what the guy said. Like, they're just so focused on pushing this one guy. I mean, they need to capitalize on the momentum of other guys. Like Dolph and Ambrose are the perfect examples of last fall. They were probably the top 2 or 3 baby faces behind Cena, and they could have just kept that momentum going. So then when somebody went down, then everybody would realize, okay, well, Cena's down or Orton's gone, but hey, at least we have Ziggler and Ambrose who had kept momentum going to believe that we can believe them being top guys. But at this rate, nobody in the roster, nobody can get behind right now.
Somewhere down the road, Vince McMahon just forgot, or he just stopped caring. It's like he said, there was a time where it was like a round table of guys. Now it's just like the guy. You know, like one of the reasons why NXT is cool, I think it was like a year ago. I think it was like a cool picture. I think it was like a picture that went viral. It was like Triple H, Hideo Itami, Sami Zayn, Neville, Kevin Owens, and somebody else. It was like, I think Finn Balor. It was like 5 people. It was like NXT was revolving around like 5 different guys. And it was cool, you know, and the SmackDown 6 where you had Edge, Ray, the Los Guerreros, Benoit, Angle, you know, like, it's cool, you know, when you have like a roster or a main event scene revolving around like 6 people, like, you know, or more, not necessarily 6, but if you pay attention to WWE for like the past 5 to 6 years, it's been Cena, Orton, and just a temporary third person. Cena, Orton, Batista. Cena, Orton, Jericho. Cena, Orton, CM Punk. Cena, Orton, Daniel Bryan. Cena, Orton, Rey Mysterio. Cena, Orton, Roman Reigns. You know? It's been like the same pattern like the past 5, 6 years.
And when you say Cena, Orton, the third person, there's still always a huge gap between the third person. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah. And there shouldn't be this. And that's the thing, too. Like, I don't understand where that came about, because if you ask anybody in marketing, in advertising, in any kind of other place besides WWE, let's talk about, like, just for a football team, for instance, Gary. Like, you know, we have the football podcast that we do. Like, okay, now, I mean, we're Cowboys fans, so I'm going to use the Cowboys for a reference here. But okay, you have Tony Romo. He's a central figure. He's the guy that the team revolves around. Whatever. But Jason Witten does advertising. He's on things. You know, you have other guys that are on certain things that they're known for that or whatever. You know, it's cool that you let Titus O'Neil do some stuff over here with the breast cancer, and you recognize his whenever he feeds the homeless or whatever, and maybe that's what's getting him on TV right now. But it's just like, you have so many opportunities to let these people be their own thing and have stars here and there. And then you just say, nope, we're not going to let anybody get above Cena's level, and that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you want to have 10 people to go out there and do radio shows and all of them be stars for you? Like, don't you make more money that way? Like,
Sean, why does Vince want one Cena when he should try to be building 5 John Cenas? It's like the Cesaro thing is the biggest thing. It's like this guy was people were getting behind him, but then Vince's like, no, he's Swiss. He did no connection. Millennial. Let's just keep pushing him down. I don't understand that. We're not saying. I don't think anybody is like expecting Cesaro to be the next John Cena, but why can't he just be a top guy to be number 2 or something? To be like, okay, if John's out or Randy's out or Roman's out, to just be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the thing. Like, even with Cena and Orton, like, Orton never got up to Cena's level either. And Orton also got himself in trouble and all that kind of other stuff too. And it's just like, when I see Roman Reigns, I don't necessarily see John Cena there. I see he's going to get up to Randy Orton's level, and that's about as far as he's ever going to get.
Yeah, and that's at the fans level.
I see like a Diesel Orton hybrid. I'm kind of like in the same category as you. I'll tell you what, guys. I don't hate John Cena, and a lot of people hate him. I don't hate the guy. Like, he's cool with me. But what I will say is, it's like anybody that gets over. What I don't like about John Cena, and I don't know if it's him or if it's Vince McMahon or if it's a mixture of the two or whatever. Anytime somebody gets over, they're fed to Cena, And I know the term burial is misused a lot in the IWC, so I'm not going to say that John Cena buries people, but every time someone gets over, they're fed to Cena. And being fed to the top guy, that's not bad or anything, but it's like when you're fed to Cena, that thing that made you special, that made you stand out from everybody else, like, it's gone. You're just like everybody else. And, the Kevin Owens thing to me was really upsetting, because he debuted as NXT champion, and he beat John Cena in his first match. Then they had a rematch at Money in the Bank, and John Cena beat him. And then they had, like, their third match, and a lot of people were thinking, okay, this is going to be it, because the thing is, like, Cena, he's lost clean before, but what I hate about it is every time Cena's lost clean, there's always some discrepancy. Like, Rock beat Cena clean, but then, Cena got his win back the next year. Bryan beat Cena clean, but then, there was the whole authority thing where he was stripped of the title and it didn't matter. CM Punk beat Cena, well, actually, he never beat Cena clean, but that's beyond the point. The main point I'm making is, like, every time Cena does lose, there's some kind of discrepancy where he somehow, like, gets his win back or whatever. And when they had that third match, John Cena not only beat Kevin Owens, but he made him tap out. And I remember, like, when Owens tapped out, there were a lot of Cena defenders that were saying, oh, don't worry, it's going to lead to a fourth match. And I'm like, no, it's not. He tapped out. Like, that's finality. When anyone taps out, that was like they had 2 matches before. That was the third match. Owens tapped out. That was the rubber match. He tapped out. That added finality to it. And, Bray Wyatt, he was another one. He was hot. He lost to Cena. He hasn't been the same. Wade Barrett, 5 years later after SummerSlam, still recovering from losing to Cena. Miz, I don't even care about Miz like that. He's still recovering from losing to Cena. Damien Mizdow, where is he? Remember when he cashed in on Cena? How did that go for him? Another one. It's like anybody that, like, fights, anyone that gets over, at some point, they are fed to Cena. But when they're fed to him, they're not special anymore. They feel like everybody else. And that's one thing that just needs to stop.
Well, it's not even that. It's also Vince afterwards. You have it's your job as a promoter to repair them. If you're going to have them lose to Cena, like Mizdow right now, he had an opportunity when he got done with The Miz. They had an opportunity to push him again. What did they do? He was a comedy character instantly again. So,
You know what, Sean? Here's the thing. It's Vince has this mentality, and I don't like Zack Ryder, but I'm going to use him as an example. If it wasn't supposed to happen, then Vince is going to be like, damn it, this is not my plan, then we're not doing this. Like, Mizdow was never supposed to get as over as he did. Ryder was never supposed to get over as he did. Bryan was never supposed to get over as he did. He was begrudgingly had to push Bryan. Vince is like that petulant child, like I want it my way, damn it, and that's what we're gonna do it. I don't understand why he doesn't push the guys. Okay, fans are clearly getting behind Dolph, Ambrose, Bryan. Let's do something with this. We don't have to make them the guy, but for fuck's sake, let's just keep the momentum going in case the guy goes down. Then we can rely on these guys because the fans are clearly behind them.
Yeah, that's what's so funny about the New Day. Like, I can't believe that they just let them go on TV and do the stuff that they do because, like, clearly I cannot imagine that was by design of them going out there doing really stupid stuff. They get over and they're letting them stay that way and they're letting them even do more stupid stuff. You know, and it's and every time, I mean, not every city loves them the same way. And that's understandable. You're going to get that everywhere you go. Just like that pop that Roman Reigns got in Nashville, I don't think he gets that everywhere. We have to see if he gets that the next 3 or 4 Raws that he comes in. You know, does he get that at TLC? We'll have to see. Maybe then that means this storyline worked in a way. But, you know, I just think that at the end of the day, this is it's not going to matter because look at their stuff for the quarter 3, everything went up. Look at the network is doing just fine. I mean, they don't care. They said it themselves. They don't care about the ratings anymore. And unless USA says we do, which I don't think they are, because if Fox already said they don't care about those ratings, that means every other network is going to come out and say we don't care about the ratings either. And, you know, they're going to start looking at the Twitter ratings. They're going to start looking at all the other stuff where WWE wins. And that's what they're going to start looking at. And then what do? You know, is Vince going to say, well, maybe my product's not as bad as we think it is? And that's the issue. You know, it doesn't become something where it doesn't matter what we, the people that analyze this and want it to be this way and say this and whatever, you know, to the layman fan, maybe it isn't that bad.
No, Vince is noticing the ratings because, once again, WrestleMania is coming up. He wants to get 100,000 people in that stadium. So I bet you anything, he's like noticing the downward trend of the ratings. And in his mind, he's thinking, okay, we've done everything. We've given them Brock, Taker, Cena. It's like, what do I have to do? I bet you anything, the wheels in his head are turning, but it's not turning the right way. He's just thinking, okay, well, let's replay the Daniel Bryan story. Everybody loved that 2 years ago. Let's do that with Roman Reigns. But he's just not getting it.
I feel sorry for Vince. I feel sorry for WWE. I
don't feel sorry for Vince. He caused this. It's like 50-50 booking has brought him to this.
Well, yeah, he did cause it, but when I mean I feel sorry for him, I feel sorry for the corporate management of WWE because, like, WrestleMania 32, this is a big show, and it's been talked about, I want to say, for, like, the past 2 to 3 years. And for some time now, like, this has been the show where their goal was to, you know, the 100,000 seat thing that you guys talked about earlier. They want to break the WrestleMania 3 record. They've been really, 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 really trying to push that really hard. And with this roster I'm looking at now, it's just not happening. It's impossible. No Rock, probably no Sting, no Rollins, no Cesaro, no Orton. Most likely, I mean, you already did Lesnar, Taker. You know, there's no one for Triple H to fight. I mean, this roster is depleted. You know, there's no way. And no Ronda Rousey either.
Yeah, they're not getting Ronda Rousey. They're not going to get Batista back.
No Batista. No Punk.
All their
no
reliance on
Bryan.
the part-timers have got back to them.
There's only one. The only thing I can see them doing, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, the only thing I can see them doing is, from what I understand, I understand that AJ Styles' contract is about to expire soon. I know he's doing Final Battle against Jay Lethal.
It's already expired. He's just basically
it's expired already. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Triple H throws the kitchen sink at AJ and like fast tracks him to the main roster, and we get some dream match.
I love AJ, but he's not bringing 100,000 people in that stadium.
He's not. But it's gonna bring some interest. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're gonna have to add some other celebrities in here to really make this thing really intriguing. I don't know who that is. I just feel like they're going to have to bring some other people from the outside entertainment world in just to get people really interested. And, of course, then maybe add some old names. Maybe if they can get, even if it was to get an AJ Styles or even if it was to add someone else to this roster to get more oomph to it, to get everybody excited, they can do it. It's just how can they do it, and will the formula be good enough for people to care at that time? I mean, we're running out of time here to build anything to WrestleMania 32. That's what concerns me a lot. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, add Eva Marie? I mean...
I'll read everything, Gary. I'll read everything.
So, I kid
about Actually, Gary, I want Eva Marie to win the Rumble, so then when she comes out against Sheamus, like, Sheamus, you're going to defend that WWE Championship versus me. And all you dorks can deal with it.
That's the best way to get people to really have heel heat for Sheamus is just to add him and her together and Team Red. I mean, Big Red, they can even call themselves Big Red, get sponsored. Hey,
you can tie Total Divas with it and have Sheamus with Eva Marie in his corner, or Brian versus Brie Bella in his corner.
Yeah, there you go. That's totally awesome, man. Well, we've had a really great conversation. And I don't want to cut this short at all. We got so much to cover on this show. But I just want to ask our guest. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we move on? I just don't want to cut you off.
Oh, the only other thing I had to mention was you guys were talking about Kurt Angle earlier. Kurt Angle. He's been stating for years that it was his goal to retire by the age of 46, which is his current age. So when he retired, I was pretty much like, okay, cool. I mean, a lot of wrestlers, it's hard to take retirement seriously in wrestling, because people come back and stuff. But I remember like a long time, well, not that long ago, about 2-3 years ago, Angle did say that he wanted to retire by age 46. So I do think this retirement is legitimate. He was in talks to join WWE about a year ago, and from what I gather, Triple H basically gave him the cold shoulder. I know Triple H was never really a fan of Angle. He was jealous of him. JR can talk about that on his podcast a little bit. And I know that WWE was afraid to sign him.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I know WWE was afraid to sign him because of his, his pill addiction. I know Angle's calmed down a little bit, but I think this retirement from Angle is very, it's serious. I would like to see him in the Hall of Fame at some point, but I don't see him returning to WWE. I know a lot of fans are hoping for that, but I don't see that happening.
Well, we'll see. It's retiring from TNA. He's going to take a year off and then see where he's at. So.
Mm-hmm. I just think, no matter what problem Triple H has with him, I think he needs to look in the mirror and then look what he's done with Vince and the bridges he's built that were already burnt down with some of these old guys and got them into the Hall of Fame. I think he needs to seriously look at Kurt Angle and say, this guy can be an asset. Even if I don't want him in the ring, I can have him here, be on the microphone, have him in NXT, have him all these different places, and this guy can help our whole, company. I mean, not just NXT, but he can help the main roster too. I just think he's too big of an asset not to have eventually. Not saying getting back in the ring. I don't really honestly care about that. I think he could be an asset. So,
I actually agree with that, Gary. I think at some point, Kurt Angle will be back in WWE because he's a huge asset to the brand, and having him around helps the brand grow and helps the future grow. It helps the main roster talent, helps the NXT talent. That's just a huge asset to not utilize. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're on the same page with that for sure. So, well, man. I forget. Did you use a nickname when you called in? I know your actual name. I don't want to use it if you don't want it on the air.
No, you can just call me Toph.
All right, Toph, man. Well, we want to thank you for calling in, man. Like I said, we've got so much to cover. So I hate to move on, but we're just going to have to. We're running a little short on time here. But, man, we want you to call back in. It's been a blast talking to you. Really, really great discussion, man.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. All right, Chris. Well, I don't know how your night's going. What you got? I don't know. Are you at work right now, Chris?
Actually, I just got off work, but I got to get going here pretty soon.
Okay, well, before you leave, can I just do this? Since Paul's not here, can you do us a favor? We're going to do some rapid hits. Can you just kind of quickly go down the list with us real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Sean, let's jump into these rapid hits. We like to hit them hard and fast. You don't have to say a lot when we ask or basically give the news out. Just kind of give a few sentences here about each thing, and we'll move on. Okay, let's talk about the fact that, Lana has a lot of heat, apparently. She is not really apparently, made a lot of friends backstage, partly because of some of her comments and tweets and some other things going on. So the heat is supposed to be nuclear. What do you think about that? Chris?
I saw the tweets between her and Paige. When I initially saw them, okay, obviously it's a work, but I still think those tweets are at work, but I wouldn't be surprised if she does have nuclear heat because they were really banking on that storyline with Lana and Dolph and Summer and Rusev and how it abruptly ended. And the fact that TMZ made that story and how they had to change their plans, I could just see Vince being like, God damn it, you screwed it all up, Lana.
Okay, get the redhead to do anything, get the blonde to do anything. Who'll do anything right?
I can see her having nuclear heat. I just hope that she's smart enough to realize that whatever she does could affect Rusev's career. So hopefully she can start kind of, kissing ass and kind of making amends with certain people. But I can't fault her for, having a personal life, but I understand why they'd be upset that she did ruin a big storyline for them. Well, in their eyes, a huge storyline for them, but
Sean?
Yeah, I think, some of it might be true, but I can never believe this whole nuclear heat stuff for people because I just can't see WWE not using her when she's being back to okay. She's a draw. People like her. It's tough to say that they would just be like, no, we're not listening to them.
Well, let me ask you this, Sean. When she does come back, do you put her back as a heel of Rusev again, or what do you do with her when she comes back?
It's difficult because I would say that you can't. I would say that her with Rusev just doesn't. You have to change something, I think.
My problem with it is that she's already been labeled with Rusev, and unless they come up with something really intriguing, people are still going to see her as the girl with Rusev. It's just going to have to be something special. The gimmick's going to have to totally change. I don't know how that's going to work.
I can't even picture her back with Rusev because, the way Rusev's booked now, and looks like he's going to be Sheamus is kind of second person. So she's in a rough spot in how you book her return. I don't think at this rate you could put her back with Rusev and expect the same magic.
Definitely. I can agree with that, so it'd be intriguing to see what they do. K Jewelers is now the official jewelry store of WBE. I don't know. Maybe Rusev got that ring from K Jewelers. What do you think about this sponsorship? Chris, you always go first.
It's another notch in their belt, I guess. That WBE hey, this helps our brand. We're part of K Jewelers, and hey, like you said, maybe we can have a commercial of Rusev and Lana. Be like, Rusev gave me a ring from K. Jewelers or something.
I want to see this. Sean, what are your thoughts?
That would be great. I definitely, I mean, that's cool that WWE's getting bigger sponsors now. Obviously, that has to help with the, SmackDown coming over to USA and everything. It's another reason why I say that, why we're going to have this topic here in a little bit about these Raw ratings, because if these ratings were that big of a deal, then they wouldn't sit there and talk about it. They wouldn't be having these big sponsors and everything.
You're right. WWE on their network just added a lot of NWA content. Thoughts?
Is the content like in order, like chronological order, or just random kind of content?
From what I gather, random.
I mean, because they're adding more stuff to their network, I would still want like more WCW Thunder and Saturday nights. So that more content is a step in the right direction. So I'll take what I can get.
Sean?
For what was this again?
The NWA content on the network.
Oh, man, that's cool. I tried to watch. The thing is, man, some of that stuff is so old and very, very old school to the point where it's just like, it's hard to, like, if you never watched it back then, it's hard to watch. Like, I watched, I think, one of the shows from 1985, and I was just like, I want to fast forward for a lot of this stuff because I don't care about Sam Houston and this fat dude wrestling for 20 minutes. They had long matches for like no reason because back then you could kind of just have anything going and people would watch it because they didn't have phones to get bored from and stuff like that. Yeah.
Would you rather they add some kind of context to the stuff they're adding, like maybe explain the historical value of, hey, this is the NWA and this is why this is a big deal, kind of explain to the audience, hey, you're watching history, or just have it just be random content without any kind of explanation?
No. I mean, I think you can't. I mean, if you want to have like a little introduction thing that's separate there for people to watch, then sure. But I don't think you can have that before every single one of those shows and all that stuff. Because I think what they're trying to do is they're just adding all that stuff, and most of it seem to be in order for the most part. There was a couple of shows missing, I think, from 1986, but and then also you got to remember that they taped over a lot of the stuff with the same tapes. Because they didn't understand the whole, we need to have this in an order because somebody might actually want to collect this stuff later.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, it's one of those where WWE themselves has to come out and maybe give you a reason why, hey, we're adding this because they has this, this, and this, and this. It might be a good idea.
Well, guys, some other news. WBE wants Red Dragon, apparently. What would you say about that, Chris?
It's a good addition. I love them adding more talent because, again, once all these NXT guys are getting called up, you're going to need to start, refilling the roster. So adding Red Dragon to the NXT tag division would be a good step in the right direction.
Red Dragon would be awesome. If they could get Red Dragon, I mean, I'd hate to see them not be able to be in New Japan and stuff like that anymore. But I really, it would be cool the thing is, again, this is one of those things that the WWE would really have to push the tag division being big, not only in NXT but eventually in WWE as well. And that's the thing, they brought back the Dudleys and they're already just people. And that you can't have that if you're going to bring in a team like Red Dragon who are huge, and not to mention that, but Kyle O'Reilly is so good. I'd really hate for him to get pegged with Bobby Fish forever and never be able to be a singles guy, because he could be a really good singles guy if they actually showed faith in him.
Oh, definitely. I just want to see him face off against Aiden English. So. Well, guys, I mean, this is interesting. You just mentioned NXT, Sean. Remember that guy that got shot over at the NXT Developmental Center? Yeah, that's right. The crazy guy that used to do all sorts of crazy stuff over there got shot by the cops not long ago. They basically interviewed him, and he said that he thought he was on a reality show. That's why he ran at the cops, and he thought they had a taser, but they had bullets.
Oh, God.
Does
this guy think he's on Planet Stasiak or something? Come on.
It just amazes me. People are people, but this guy really has some issues. Thought he was on a reality TV show just because he showed up at the Performance Center.
Did he think he was getting his own show on the network or something?
I think so. Sean, I mean...
That's just... Oh, my God. Like... I hope this guy gets help for whatever his problem is, but come on now. Yeah. That's just he's got to have one of those like really bad mental issues or something. Like if you're really thinking that you were on a reality show and you have cops out there and they're shooting you, like I'm sorry, and there's no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but hey, it's news. You got to report it. A couple of things left, guys. One thing we need to mention is AJ Styles is injured. He will not be making a future match with this whole tournament over there, the tag tournament. So we could see him possibly miss the entire thing or just miss a couple matches here or there. But, this is kind of a big deal because, he is a major star in New Japan. How do you feel like this will impact? Do you think it'll be a big deal?
I think it's a big deal that he's going to miss some New Japan shows, but it might also affect a possible WWE signing too. At this point, he really can't afford a major injury because it's either now or never if he ever wants to get into WWE. So hopefully it's not too serious of an injury, but if it is, it might affect him ever going to NXT or going to the main roster of WWE at this point.
This is big also because it could affect the Final Battle show that he has to do here in about a few weeks. It's the 18th of December, so we'll have to see how long he has to be out. The tag league ends on the 9th, and then he's over on the 18th. He's got to be at that Final Battle show. So let's see if Navy New Japan. Again, he doesn't have a contract with either one of them. He's just basically honoring those dates because he's already booked for them. But I wonder if it's bad if he has to say no to something. Because I'm assuming he'll work Wrestle Kingdom no matter what, unless he just physically can't before he works something else.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really interested as well to find out, the injury situation with him, can't be too bad for him to, move on and do good things. But I just think that, in the short term, could be a big deal. New Japan apparently is not real happy with La Sombra joining WWE. They really did not think that was a good thing. What are your thoughts about that?
Was La Sombra under contract with them, or was it just kind of like an AJ kind of?
He was with CMLL, who they're partnered with, basically, and he figured that if he was giving notice to CMLL, that they would, he would try to go to New Japan or something, since he's done dates for them. He was in the World Tag League last year with Naito, and he's supposed to be part of his stable and everything that was going to come to New Japan, and I think he obviously saw the great talent La Sombra has and figures it'd be much better fit for New Japan than it would be for WWE, so he's probably looking at it from oh man, we missed out, but also from I think he'd be a much better talent with us than with WWE.
I mean, I can see that perspective, but again, if he's not contracted with them, he has no legal or any kind of obligation to them whatsoever. So you can't fault him for going where the big money is at with WWE, where he can make a bigger name for himself.
Yeah, very true. I kind of agree with that, Chris. I mean, if they really wanted him, they should have made a bigger push to get him. Try to talk him and sway him into doing, what they wanted, and that was to join them. So it's one of those things. You lose some, you win some, and right now WWE got the Sombra's talents over there for them. So we'll see what they can do with it. Hopefully, it's something positive. But
hopefully,
guys,
he becomes a comedy tag team with ZT.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Wow. Well, man. Well, that wraps up Quick Hits for us, guys. A lot of stuff going on. We had some great discussion there, and I just want to thank Toph for calling in. That was awesome. First-time caller. Hopefully he calls back in. He's a really smart guy, and just really enjoyed that conversation. And man, Chris, we really appreciate you taking your time out and giving us a call. We know it's late, but man, it's awesome to always have you on, man.
No problem. It's good. It's always good to talk to you guys about wrestling.
Definitely. So, do you have anything to plug or anything you want to say? Anything?
Just last thoughts. I really hope that Vince, all the creative team, Stephanie and Trips, look at the RAW rating and just take 30 minutes and just think, what have we done wrong, and just start to work from there. Because again, it's December. They have to start thinking about the Royal Rumble. And then from there, they start thinking about WrestleMania 32. They already had the mindset to get 100,000 people in that stadium. So let's start trying to figure out, okay, who do we have? Who can we make a star? And who can we utilize to put as a top draw for Mania? I saw something where Ric Flair said in his podcast where he thinks Cesaro, within 2 months, could be built up to be a challenger for Brock Lesnar. Now, I know that Cesaro's hurt right now, but let's use that mentality. Who do we have on our roster that we can build up and make a star within a month or two, and just kind of see what happens? Because obviously, what they're doing right now is not working. So just flip the script and just start fresh and start building guys up.
Yeah, I think that's completely right on track. They've got to do that. To me, that's a necessity. It's not a maybe or a possibility. To me, that is a necessity for success. So, yeah, well, great thoughts, man. I really appreciate that, and great, discussion overall. I mean, we've had a lot of fun, but I know you probably want to get some rest, Chris. So we will let you go, and we really appreciate it, man.
No problem, guys. You guys take care.
You too. All right, Sean, man, this has really been a fun show so far. we didn't expect Collins at all.
No, not at like 5 in the morning. I did not. So.
But that's okay. I mean, we've had a great time. Since it's just me and Sean, honestly, we're probably going to get to these reviews pretty quickly, I'm assuming. So, we'll probably,
Especially
make
on
up
the
time.
ROH and TNA side, because I unfortunately just have not had time to watch those this week. But.
Yeah, which I watch both, so we are covered. But like Sean said, it'll be shorter. We promise we will try not to go over that 3-hour mark. We're going to try to stay into what we usually do. So, all right, without any further ado, Sean, I think it's time for us to go ahead and talk about some Monday Night Raw. So let's go ahead and do that.
I wanted to say this before. I mean, maybe this already gets done before we even, because I just posted in the Facebook group. Don't know if that's going to help, but. If somebody frequents the subreddit for wrestling, which is the Squared Circle, I can't do this myself, and neither can Gary or anyone else that's some sort of member of the podcast, like Chris Lemche or Paul. If anybody listening out there that's a sort of it's a fan of the podcast and is a person that goes on the Squared Circle subreddit on Reddit a lot. They have a post on there for wrestling podcasts, and if you just post about the podcast, or it's better if you just post a link to the podcast, giving a description of it or whatever, somebody will add it to their huge list of podcasts people should listen to, and it would get us more listeners and and just more eyes on us, always trying to grow the listenership, makes it better for you guys, because more opinions out there on possibly what they like in the show, what they don't like, can make it a better show, and maybe they can join the Facebook group too, and be able to talk with everybody on there as well. So, just thought I'd throw that out there. So, once again, there's a wrestling podcast / radio shows post in the subreddit for Squared Circle. If you go in there, you just post about the podcast, and the guys should add it, and then we'll be in there with a bunch of other huge podcasts, and it'd be awesome.
Yeah, and we would definitely appreciate that. It's not just about us getting our, for us to be, famous or anything. It's just about, honestly, we grew this group to really, have a community, to have a group of people to be able to join in, and we just had a call in. We want more call-ins. We want people to call and give their opinions. It makes the show better. So it's not just three of us, blabbering on about the same things we always do. It's nice to have guys like Toph call in and give us their opinions. If you help us out, do that. We're going to have more call-ins and more great discussions you're going to want to listen to. So, but yes, thank you, Sean, for mentioning that. And please go check that out on our Facebook group. That is Wrestling to the Max on Facebook. So, all right, guys. Well, it is time for us to talk some Monday Night Raw. So let's do that, Sean.
WWE Monday Night Raw.
Alright, Monday Night Raw, as I mentioned a little bit ago, or during that discussion there, was from Nashville, Tennessee. And they pretty much, it was lots of recapping from Survivor Series in here, so, that's a thing. And, of course, the beginning of the show started out with the Authority talking about Roman Reigns and also the Sheamus win and why Sheamus got it and Roman Reigns didn't. And, do you feel like some of this obviously was needed for people who didn't watch the show, but didn't this make Sheamus look this didn't help Sheamus at all, did it?
No, it didn't. It really, it did help those people that didn't, like you said, Sean, but no, it really did nothing for him. I didn't find this particularly strong. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Sheamus right now. They're not thrilled with the decision for him to be champion. But personally, he didn't give me enough there to really get mad or angry. It just seemed like the same old Sheamus, and that's not good.
Yeah, he seemed like he was really trying hard to get people to chant, "You look stupid" at him. Mm-hmm. Instead of, just letting it come natural. And I get it, he should be kind of making fun of those shows. He should definitely, or not sure, sorry. He should be making fun of the fans for that, because at this point you got to try to do anything to get the fans to boo you. But man, it just it felt really forced and silly.
Yeah. That's the problem with Sheamus overall, though, Sean, and that's what I mean by the same old Sheamus. It's usually kind of corny. It's usually kind of cheesy. I just wish that he would watch a little bit of tape. He would watch a little bit of what Bret Hart used to do. Watch what some of these other great talents at being a heel did and how they drew heat and found a way not just to go on some of the corny stuff, which it's fine if you do a little bit of it, but man, get at the fans and tell them, say, I don't care who you are or what you think. I'm the champion. Deal with it. If you don't like it, go do something else. And, really just get on them and say, you don't matter. I matter. I'm the one with the gold, things like that. Not, hey, yeah, what are you saying, fella? Oh, you like the way I look, fella? Or, just that. Come on. It's silly. Do something more serious.
No, and I think also just, I think it helped sort of, the reason it's there is they wanted to reinforce the whole thing about, well, Roman Reigns, you messed up by not going with us. Now we made Sheamus champion. Look at that, ha ha ha. And then, you did hear the crowd chant for Roman. Seemed pretty loud to me. I mean, it's not anything like drop dead, oh my God, or anything. But, like, it was pretty substantial. And then, it got a little louder when Reigns and Triple H had that little face-off there, too. So that could be something cooking there for WrestleMania, possibly. Do you think that was a 1 week thing because it's after Survivor Series, or do you see this improving for Reigns? Do you think that the crowd reactions are going to be more consistent now, or is it just going to still be a varied mess?
For me personally, I feel like it's still going to be very spattering. It's going to be varied. It honestly will be. I almost said very varied. That would have been weird. But I just do think it's going to depend on what city they're in. Middle of America, I think when you're talking about, even I would say Tennessee or, maybe even Wisconsin, places that are middle of America are going to have that, okay, well, that's great, let's just cheer for Roman. I think when you get to Philadelphia, I think when you get to Chicago, you're going to have those harsher crowds. And I think in other parts, you're going to have a few people just not being thrilled about Roman Reigns. But let's be honest, the casual fans, the people just aren't smart fans and things like that, are probably just going to cheer because other people are cheering. So I think you'll get some consistency, but not enough. I just don't feel like he's strong enough of a character. We just talked about it. I just don't feel like he's that guy yet. He's not up in that range where he needs to be over with every town.
Right, yeah. Let's see. Let's see if maybe that means the storyline is working then. If it does continue to improve, depending on, in the next cities before TLC.
Mm-hmm.
So we had two things with the Divas on this show, and they had a 4-minute Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch match. And, normally I would say that that's really wrong for them to do. And they also still had, Tamina and Naomi get involved for Sasha because she's the heel or whatever. But how do you feel about this? Because, we're still talking about a Divas Revolution that you're trying to get the fans to really get interested in these matches. They did try to do what they could in the 4 minutes, but it's certainly not enough time to really do anything. And then they don't even talk about it during the match. They wait until after the match to say that this might have number one contendership implications.
It's almost like they're not sure with exactly what they want to do at times, especially with the Divas division. I'll say this, though. The one thing I do know is they're trying to have the best of both worlds and smush them together. I feel like they're trying to get the energy, the hype, the kind of matches that they had in NXT there, but at the same time still have the main roster Divas formula in a way, and smash the two together, and it just doesn't work. This match was, whatever it was okay, but it was not what we see in NXT. And I think a lot of times when people like me and you, Sean, who watch NXT religiously, and we know what they can do, and we've seen matches with them, it's so odd. It's almost like they're wrestling on a different planet. I don't know. I did not see what I know they can do, and that bothered me, and it kind of took me out of the match. I really did.
Yeah, I agree. It just, to me, I'm fine with, Sasha's a heel. They want her to still be doing heel things, but, it's just, to me, this kind of felt like it ended out of nowhere, and you're expecting better things, like you said, and they're not providing that there. But to be fair, they did, I thought they did a really good job of building up the Divas title match, which, again, this is where I don't like these instant rematches from Raw. or to Raw the next night, because this is something that should have been built up for a week. And then next week you have the rematch. This is something that can make some people... I'm not saying you're going to get 1 million viewers to watch Raw the next week because of this, but if you build it up and you have good build-up and you say, okay, we're going to have a rematch with Charlotte and Paige for the title, I think I'm watching, aren't you? Like, I mean, it's just, to me, that's so dumb to just have it right that night. If you're not watching that night, then you completely missed it. And I thought this match was better than the one at Survivor Series. You still had a lot of the same stuff, still working legs and still, working body parts and whatever, but I thought it was more fluid. They... And I thought that they still kind of got rough with each other a little bit, which is what you want to see. And but I felt like the stuff made more sense. I thought that the one at Survivor Series kind of dragged a little bit, whereas this one I was kind of into the whole time.
No, I agree with that too. I really do, because of the fact that it just seemed like it had a better chemistry, and the title situation, that was kind of a surprise a little bit. Kind of bringing that into this Raw. Kind of thought that was soon too, but it is what it is, and I'm glad that they did have this match in a way, just because it kind of gave you a better idea what they can do. You didn't kind of come out of Survivor Series and think, well, they can't really work well together. I think that's not right. I think they can work well together. I think they just need to be in the ring together more often, which they are. And now we'll have to see. Hopefully they can build on that.
Do you like the whole PTO on the announce table?
It is what it is. I mean, I thought it was a good. I thought it was good, but I can't say I was thrilled with it.
Why do you say that?
I guess we've seen that kind of stuff been done before. We've seen people put people in holds on the announce table. It's nothing new. It's nothing breaking. So I think that's why I say that. I mean, it was better than some of the endings I think they could have gave us. I'll say that for sure.
Speaking of endings, this one had a weird one. What's up with this Mark Henry and Neville thing? It just felt weird to me. Like, didn't it to you? Like,
yeah.
Okay, you got my respect. All right. Well, okay.
It's really sweet of Mark Henry to try to get Neville over. I mean, and it's okay. It's not bad. It's just so odd because during the match Neville's trying to win and Mark Henry gets mad and angry and he's just throwing Neville around like a rag doll, and then at the end of it, he's like, "Oh, good job, little buddy." I'm like, okay, sure.
I guess he's giving him his vote of confidence or something.
I guess so, and that's fine and dandy. It really is. I just don't. I don't know. It just was kind of awkward. And here's why I say this. And I think anybody can be a veteran and put over young guys. I think that's great. This was a little hokey, which is okay. But the one thing I would like to say is I wish there was a guy at the same caliber of Neville doing it, just because it's like putting the torch to, giving the torch to him. They're totally different styles of wrestling.
But how? Yeah, I know what you're saying, but to be honest, Mark Henry and Neville are kind of at the same level at this point.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that doesn't speak much for Neville.
I know, but Mark Henry's still a veteran. He's still.
Oh yeah, he's beloved. He is. I mean, it's kind of like Kane. I mean, he's not. Let's be honest. I mean, he's no longer the Kane of the past. He's no longer that guy at the next level. Having him do something to Finn Balor, sure, Finn's not an established main event guy, but you're kind of like saying, okay, well, Finn doesn't really wrestle Kane's style. What's the purpose of him passing the torch to him? I would rather see another guy like Chris Jericho giving the torch to Finn Balor. To me, that makes more sense.
Well, speaking of wacky and weird, and all of the life, we continued that on this show, though. You had two segments that were kind of like back and forth. with that. You had the Goldust of Primetime Players against Stardust in a sense, and it kind of plays off stuff from Survivor Series as well. I love the promo before then with Titus O'Neil coming in and talking about the stars and like, Titania. Oh, there's no Titania here. He's like, oh yeah, there is. You don't see the Florida Gator thing over there, like, and then he barks. Like, all right, it's just that was fun.
Next week, you'll have to, Stardust will have to say, well, you see that Seminole? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, right. Too bad, that Seminole just got beat, but it's all right, But Goldust, it seems like, they're still trying to go off this feud, and I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's really going to do anything at this point? It's been so dormant. I don't see the people caring about it.
The Goldust and Stardust feud? Yeah. I'm right. I think I agree with you on that. It has been dormant, and it really is going to take singles matches to really care. I've never been a person where a tag feud really builds a feud between people. Just when we've talked about Bray Wyatt and some of the feuds he's had, to me, it's not important or exciting until he's in there by himself. Same goes with Goldust. Same goes with Stardust together. I just think that that's not the way to build it through the tag. You got to get those guys in more up close, personal, and just having singles interactions are going to help that.
True. Well, speaking of singles interactions and previous feuds, we have Del Rio here. We knew this was coming. We all saw it when Swagger had that little interaction with Zeb beforehand. Previously, I don't remember what show it was on, whether it was Survivor Series or some other show that they had interaction, and we got Swagger basically reminding Zeb of his past and basically telling him, hey, remember when you were all about America and we the people and stuff, and Del Rio tells him to shut up and not talk about Zeb that way and stuff, and I'm sort of okay with this because we knew where this was going.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't this kind of the wrong time to be doing a patriotic thing with all the stuff that's going on? And
I don't know if it's the wrong time for patriotic stuff. The world is crazy right now, and there's lots going on. It's not like we're talking about a Middle Eastern gimmick or anything like that. Kind of like they did with the Iraq and America feud and all that. I think that this is really just geared towards a guy, who is patriotic, trying to stand up for what he believes in against, his former manager and his new guy. So that in that realm, I'm not really, thinking that that's wrong. I just think right now, this feud, could be interesting, but for the most part, you're talking about two guys that the crowd generally really doesn't have a whole lot to think about or say about. I don't imagine
Swagger's been doing absolutely nothing, at least on TV.
Exactly, you're totally he's not been around. And then you look at Alberto Del Rio, who we were all talked about the fact that hey, he was a Hell in a Cell. That's exciting, and then after that, he's given you nothing to be excited about at all. So two guys that really aren't really down. With the crowd, no one really cares.
The crowd liked it. No, let's not say the crowd was enjoyable about the whole, we the people coming back and all that. So
it's nostalgic, but that's kind of like when Del Rio showed up Hell in a Cell. They were all like, "Yeah, that's awesome," and then later on in the next week's Raw, "Yay, Del Rio," and I think that's what you're going to see next week.
Del Rio acts like he wants to be anywhere but there.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, and people love chanting, "We the people," so you may see that more. I don't know. I hope it's better than what I expect. I just have a feeling people are going to fall and lose interest in this.
Yeah, I just don't see... I mean, look, I give them credit. It is the U.S. Championship, and a non-U.S. person has it, and that's what they're trying to play off here. You've got the stuff with the previous manager thing, which makes it a little interesting. Mm-hmm. Let's see where it goes, I guess. I just remember the matches between these two weren't like anything that was so exciting. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm not looking forward to so much. But a match that I am looking forward to, though, Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens for the IC title. I'm so there. After they had they had the best match on the show of Survivor Series, and then you still got Ziggler and Breeze going on. They basically had your little tag team, the faces against the heels kind of thing. I thought it served its purpose. I mean, it wasn't anything offensive.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was there. It served its purpose. That's really as far as I can go on that. But the IC title picture, loving it. I'm a big Kevin Owens guy. I think he can do a lot of great things to really progress in his future. Yes, the IC title feud between Owens and Ambrose should be very interesting. I think these guys can put on a really good match.
I agree too. I can't wait for that match. That being said, this is the kind of thing that I think shows that, I understand you need fillers sometimes and whatever, but why are you wasting 5 minutes with Heath Slater and Ryback doing absolutely nothing?
Yeah, you're right. Totally nothing at all. And the thing is Heath Slater wasted so much time. And I think that could have been better utilized. And maybe that's just to get heat, and I guess it worked.
Especially when you already spent a lot of time with the, New Day earlier, which you're about to talk about. Like, just why do something else that has to do with this?
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. But of course, the one we're going to talk about is a lot better. But you're right, Sean. It just took too long to get what you got in the result. I'm glad to see Heath Slater back on television. I'm glad to see him do something. But you can't have this happen too often.
Well, we do need to talk about it. This country jamboree to celebrate the New Day's 1-year anniversary. Oh my God, this was amazing. This was the best part of the show. Like, the New Days comes out right in those. We've all had them, I think, at one point or another in our when we were kids. The horses on sticks, or something of that combination, except for these were unicorns. And, like, Kofi has a unicorn horn out of his hair, and Xavier Woods got the pompadour going on, and wow. And they just blasted country music, and then they just acted like total heels. Oh, Lucha Dragons? Oh, Usos? You guys want to come out here and have an open challenge? Well, screw you. We're leaving.
This whole thing was a blast. The New Day is great in general. We brag on them week in and week out, so I know people are probably tired of hearing us talk about them, but it just, to me, it's gold. When I was working on the intro this week, there were several parts that I could have used, and I found parts that I just thought made sense, but I wanted this whole thing. I really did, because it's just so funny. But once again, they're the reason that you want to watch Raw. New Day. For me personally, they're one of the biggest reasons I tune in and try to find whatever segment they're on, and find it and make sure I'm paying attention, because they are so funny. So I don't know. It is what it is when it comes to what they were doing and all the tag teams coming out and wanting their shots. It makes sense. Everything worked out okay. So no problem with what they're doing. I'm okay with that. The Lucha Dragons, I think, still need a little work, though. I like their ability. I like who they are, but them on the mic, it still needs work.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard with... You're trying to sell the Spanish aspect with Sin Cara, so you don't, even though Unico can talk English just fine, you don't want to lose that part for him.
Yeah. No, and it has nothing to do with the Spanish part, because it works with Alberto Del Rio, it works with these guys. I just think that these guys need a little bit more work on, just overall.
It felt a little awkward.
Yeah.
But, you know, the main event, we talked about it a little bit already. I thought the match was actually pretty good. You know, we know Rusev is really good at what he does, and Roman Reigns is good at what he does. Is basically just get beat up, and then he does his comeback, and there you go. But you know, you had Sheamus there at ringside. You had Wade Barrett get involved and kind of cause the DQ and all that stuff, so Rusev wouldn't lose, which I can kind of understand. Rusev's coming back, and you don't want to lose like that. But then, like I said before, you know, Reigns beat up everybody. I mean, I don't see how, if your whole reason for this is you're trying to get sympathy for Reigns because he lost in an unfair way at Survivor Series. I mean, I don't know how you feel that. I mean, I thought the match accomplished what you wanted as far as getting people into Reigns that way, but I thought the end kind of neglected everything you'd already tried to push from the beginning there.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I think the same thing. You know, to me right now, they're just enjoying having Roman Reigns in a situation where he can be the main event, where he can get over and, you know, try to get people behind him. That's the whole purpose here. They're trying to really pull people in with him, and that's fine and dandy, especially against a guy like Rusev, who's not exactly a fan favorite. So I don't know. I think that you're going to get your yin and your yang with Roman Reigns, because they're going to have to sacrifice something to help him get over.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we pretty much talked about everything. You know, Dudley's lost to Bray Wyatt and Harper. I think that's the only thing I haven't talked about, but it didn't mean anything.
Nope.
Did you, I laughed a little bit, but I also thought it was really stupid, that Hardy's commercial.
Loved it. It was dumb, but it was awesome. You know me, I'm an El Torito fan, so anything with El Torito deserves at least 4 stars.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Like,
yeah,
oh,
Tex-Mex. Oh, I love it. And to see him run out with that cowboy hat, I was like, I wish I could see this every day. So, yeah.
All right, well, we got to do that rating for Raw.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Sean. You know, thinking about it, you know, just kind of going through it, I think I've got about a 6 here. Not bad, but not great. Not the episode of Raw that, you know, I would just say I was thrilled with.
I'll say a 5. I think there was some good wrestling. The Divas match was better than the one on Sunday night. The main event was actually good as far as the match goes, but it didn't accomplish. I don't think it accomplished what they wanted it to. I mean, obviously, you know, you've now set up that there are 3. It's a group of 3 along with the Authority. So that's going to be an issue. It's going to be an against all odds thing for Roman Reigns. Let's see how long that lasts. But, you know, I still think having Reigns beat him up in the first... It's the same thing with the Undertaker and Kane thing that happened with them beating up the Wyatts before the pay-per-view. I mean, if they already beat him up on Raw, what's the point of seeing them get beat up later? You know?
Exactly. You're totally right on that. Well, you know, we have, you know, something that we were going to talk about in depth, but, you know, we talked a lot about it with Toph, and, of course, you know, a little bit with Limsky. But I do want Sean to have a little say here, because, you know, we really want to get into some of what ratings mean to us. And we did a little bit, like I said, but Sean also has a little bit of stuff he wants to read for you guys. So why don't we go ahead and jump into that, Sean, and kind of get, you know, some of the other things out that we hadn't had a chance to talk about in those ratings. So what were some of your thoughts that you had and you wanted to kind of share with us?
Well, some of this comes from, you know, and he's a person that he has his own podcast, legendary figure for 411, and somebody that we always tout on here, even though he doesn't technically do anything in the wrestling zone anymore. But, you know, Steven Randall, good friend of ours, he does that TWNE After Dark podcast that you can go find on wherever there are podcasts right now. But he writes for a website called Goliath.com. I think it's based out of Canada where he lives, and he basically does all the wrestling writing on there. And he had a nice article about 7 reasons why Raw's ratings don't matter. And I thought he brought up some good points. There was another thing that came out talking about that kind of, and it also comes off of the thing that I talked about in that segment with Toph there about Fox coming out and saying that they don't care about overnight ratings anymore. HBO has said they don't care about overnight ratings anymore. FX, it's also tied into Fox, it's also come out and said they don't care about overnight ratings either. And then WWE themselves, at the last announcement with the whole quarterly financials or whatever, said they don't look at ratings that much anymore. Now, WWE's you could excuse as saying they're trying to not talk about negative things. But when other companies that are still getting good ratings are saying, especially FX, who everything they usually come out with is gold, if they're saying we don't care about overnight ratings, that means something. And it's expected that a lot of these other networks are going to come out and say the same thing, because let's be honest, more people watch things off of DVR now than ever. But let me bring into some wrestling context here first, and then we can kind of go over some of the logistical things or whatever. But Rob Naylor, who's a former NXT creative assistant, when Dusty, I think, was first there, I think when they were first making that transition over from FCW to NXT, he was around. And then he stayed on with NXT for a little bit, and then eventually I think he was let go, or he just didn't want to do it anymore, or I don't know what happened. But he's saying he wrote on Twitter in this long post, he said, with the record low rating, it made me think of the terrible overseas Raw in '97 that changed things, and had Russo talk to Vince. It's going to take a highly influential writer I know too, or someone, to put it all on the line and talk to Vince about how bad things are. It's not a Triple H will save the day either, because the writers still seem to write for him and Stephanie too. The whole audience of 3 deal. There needs to be a complete overhaul from Dunn and how the show is shot, produced. It's just so samey. Every week the same template. It's all got to change. Presentation, look of the show, all the tropes need to be phased out. New blood needs to be pushed differently. It's funny, there's nothing I'd love to see more than Triple H as a character on NXT, because it's fresh, and nothing less I want to see than Triple H on Raw. I just can't fathom watching Raw anymore. I saw the opening segment of the Raw we just went over, and I and the person that I watched it with just turned it off. Even when I worked there, I rarely watched it. Would come in on Tuesdays complaining to the mod. Was later told I wasn't a good soldier, needing to pick my battles. Well, that is all the problem. Seems like nobody ever wants to speak up, and when they do, they're punished. And as someone that loves wrestling, just sucks to see the pool pissed in quite often. Road Dogg said it best, if you don't like it, don't watch it. As, there are people on Twitter telling him things about the product they didn't like. And he said, I told a friend, so glad I stopped watching us. Why watch something you don't enjoy? I saw so many great talented people come to developmental and spent painstaking amounts of time working with them. Sucks seeing them languish. Again, not trying to pile on, but there's so much great talent employed and the world's best production team behind the scenes employees. They just need a new, fresh approach. And I have no doubt it'll get better, as NXT's show in Brooklyn was so refreshing. It's interesting enough that Dusty would tell me, Nayla, if someone didn't do what I told them, F them, they fired. With one booker, Dusty needed a star made, you booked someone to make a star. If they didn't, they were gone. Now, with an entire team of chefs, nobody has autonomy, well, except Vince, and then there's just 50-50 everything, and nobody stands out. I think we talked about quite a few of these things already, and I think he kind of hits it on the head as far as from the wrestling perspective. You cannot make a show. And I'm going to talk about the other things here first before we get into the wrestling part of it, which, again, if you listened to the show earlier, we really already talked about a lot of that stuff. But, number one, more people watch things through DVR now than they ever have. I don't know how many times I'm sitting at home, I don't want to sit through the commercials. I'm sorry, and this comes from somebody that I lived, so did Gary, we both lived in a time where there wasn't DVR. And you either had to use your VCR, if people remember what those are, and record it on a tape, or you had to be there and watch it, or you had to have a TiVo. In the early days when TiVo was all you had to record things or whatever. So, nowadays we're kind of spoiled, and yes, we are. It is what it is, but that's part of changing with the times. If something's on live, I don't really watch it other than sports. And honestly, if I wasn't doing the rabbles that I do, announcing the games and stuff, I probably would never watch a game live. I'd just wait until, like we do with the Game Pass. That's why we have the Game Pass, so I can just watch them all in a condensed format, because who the hell has 3 hours to just dedicate to watching 5 games or whatever like that? Just, I have 3 hours to watch this game and the next game and the next game. Nobody does. Same thing with Raw. Like, it's 3 hours. It's too long. If I can fast forward to the commercials that make it about an hour and something, and also fast forward to the stuff that who cares, and that's the problem. Raw shouldn't have segments that you go, who cares?
Yeah.
Imagine if we're watching a TV show and there's a part where you're like, okay, well, obviously nothing is happening here. Fast forward.
Yeah.
Does that happen when you're watching any other TV show? Maybe there's lulls and you're like, oh, this conversation is kind of boring, but it's leading to something, right?
Exactly. You stick around and you make sure you understand what they're talking about, even though you've heard it before.
It just, to me, that's the thing. Like, you got to factor that in. The DVR matters now. It hurts the advertisers, sure, but it matters for those people. It matters for everybody now. Just that you can watch it. Toph mentioned that so many ways you can watch Raw now. And so many shortened versions of ways you can watch Raw. And
exactly.
It just, they don't have ratings for that stuff. So how are you supposed to factor that in? That's why these ratings are becoming so insignificant and so outdated, because they don't measure the real audience of anything anymore. The people that are watching stuff live now are our grandparents.
Yeah.
Parents, maybe.
Yeah.
Just people don't sit down and go, maybe The Walking Dead, maybe a few other things are like appointment television, but there really isn't that show that says, I've got to watch this right now. And maybe there are people that like to do the whole getting on Twitter and talking to their friends about it while the show's on and stuff, but I still think that that's a few and far between number compared to the people that just go, okay, I'll watch it with my wife at 11 o'clock or before we go to bed or whatever,
Yeah. No, exactly. You're completely right on that, and that's why, we touched on a little bit earlier in the show, and I don't want to keep repeating some of the things you've already talked about, but I think that, social media has definitely been a big part of this, and not only that, I mean, the DVR and just having the ability to catch these type of matches and shows and things like that on demand at other times. I mean, that's a big key here we're looking at, and that's the future. It's already happening now, but I think it's getting closer and closer to that cord cutting time, and the future being something that's not based on what television is, but what's based on the internet.
Yeah, and not only that, I think even the network itself. In a month, guess what you can do? Watch this show.
Yep.
It's just, to me, it's just, and that's another thing that, Randall pointed out, that even if, let's say USA just cut WWE tomorrow, and WWE just couldn't find somebody, which, trust me, they're going to find somebody. If TNA keeps finding people to air them, there's no way WWE doesn't. They can put Raw and SmackDown on the network, and they'll do okay. WWE is such a big company, and there are other avenues aside from the television rights fees are a huge deal. Obviously, that's getting them a lot of money. Let's not play around there. But all their other stuff is going up. So if they did wind up with the shows on the network, it's not going to be like the end of the world. And that's the thing. Like, we have to think about getting 1.3 million subscribers or 1.2, whatever it is, for the network right now, and they're like number 5 as far as the top rated things. Like, that's huge. There's not a lot of things doing that right now. And like, think about that. Like, they have their own network with their own stuff, and they own North American wrestling pretty much for the most part. Outside of, ROH and TNA, like, they have history in their hands. Not just WWE, but they have other promotions history. They have so much stuff they can put on there. You could literally spend hours just on that thing by itself.
Wow.
And it's just that's another thing too. Like, it's just, there's so many factors. Even like, the reason why WWE has that thing with ESPN. ESPN is losing 3 million subscribers a year. 3 million.
Wow.
ESPN, the company that nobody thinks can ever lose anything because they have so many sports things. But that's because even sports people are sitting there going, I'll watch this game later. So that should tell you. When people are saying, I don't necessarily care so much about watching this game right now, even with you getting updates on your phone, that should tell you where television is headed.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and that's why exactly what we're seeing here with the ratings and all that, and why people are not too concerned within the WWE. But I think you still want people to watch you. If you can get them to watch you, you need to try, and I think they're going to.
They're still watching it. That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
But I think overall, I do agree. Like, the ratings, the overnight ones don't matter. But you still, if the product is bad, they may not even record it and watch it. And that's the thing. Like, you don't want people to skip a segment. You don't want people to go, okay, I'm not going to watch this because they're not making me care about it. And that's the thing. And I think, Rob Naylor hits it on the head. There needs to be a change from the bottom up. Like, I never think about this because we're so used to watching the WWE product the way it is, right? But we notice it with the sets never change anymore. They're all the same. Even the WrestleMania ones are getting a bit samey now.
Yeah.
Just the way that they do the shooting of the show, the way that they almost every segment is now telegraphed. Okay, well, we know we're going to have the talking segment at the beginning. We know we're going to have. It's weird to sometimes have a singles match because a lot of times they have this like big multi-man match at the end. It's just, you can kind of almost tell where things are going to be. And that's the thing, if you know where that's going to be every week in a show, like, why would you keep watching it?
Yep. Yeah, and that's a great point, and it's the truth. None of us would sit there and watch a football game if we know in the second quarter one of the teams is going to score a touchdown for sure. And then in the third quarter, we know that they're going to exchange field goals, and in the fourth quarter, you're going to have somebody go on a run. If that was the same formula week in and week out, why would you even watch the game? Why would you need to, right? That's kind of how I feel about this. I mean, if that's the case, you could just read on the spoiler. You basically have already seen the match because they keep it the same way.
Hey, man, doesn't that say something about the company itself? Like, you're punishing people for speaking up and saying, hey, you need to change something here. Like, shouldn't you be encouraging people to say, there's something wrong with this show? Do something about it.
You would think so. I would personally think that would be a more of a positive thing than a negative, but I think they feel like that they know what's best, they know what's right, and no one else does. I think that's the way they feel, and that's why we don't get that. So,
but that's the thing too. Like, I mean, we have this in our normal lives, just dealing with work situations. You know, like, to me, it's always, you have good management when they're willing to they ask for your advice and then they listen to that advice. If they send out a poll to somebody or to us, you always have that, like, at least for me, I've always worked in a corporation, so they send out those anonymous surveys every once a year. And for some companies that I've worked for, you can tell they listened because things changed. Other companies, you can tell that they basically took those and threw them in the trash, and to me, like, you should always and maybe Vince has that as far as, like, I want to do this with my character, I want to do this, like, personally with their wrestling. Maybe he does listen to that, but when it comes to a mentality for the show or a way something should be booked or whatever, it's always so difficult to make him, and it has to be a John Cena, it has to be somebody huge that he can take that bullet if Vince says, how dare you talk to me like that? Like, no, man. And this is the thing, like, Cena said it himself in an interview, I don't remember who it was. He said, look, I can't bring anybody else to the product anymore. I'm kind of played out. He said it himself. He's basically there to kind of maintain the status quo, to not have them lose anybody, to give the people what they want, that, the kids that still want to see Cena or whatever, but he's not bringing anybody new to the program. So it's up to the people that are, now having to be pushed because he's not there to show people what they got.
Exactly.
And that's the thing, like, it just befuddles me that Vince is not seeing that same mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get set in your ways, and I think that's where Vince is right now. He's set in his ways and his thought processes, and, he feels like, hey, he's been successful in the past, and he's going to continue that success. But, right now we don't see any proof of that success. Let's just be honest. But, that's the way it works with Vince. I really do think that right now, at least. So, well... All right. Well, that's pretty much, all we have for you guys for ratings. Interesting conversation and lots of things to think about. So, if you, are really curious about anything else, or, you have any more questions, hey, send them in. We'd love to hear from you guys. Or if you just want to comment about our discussion, go ahead and send us a comment on Facebook, or, of course, you can tweet us. Just let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, well, we are going to go on and move to NXT. And after NXT, guys, we'll also be doing our segment on thankfulness in wrestling. So stay tuned for that. But right now, it's time to go to NXT.
WWE Developmental NXT.
Alright, NXT. Well, for one, we had the show sort of opening with Michael Cole coming out because William Regal's still recovering from that surgery, which we won't see him again, I think, till TakeOver London on December 16th. When is that show? I can't remember right now, but either way, it's still that same week of TLC, so that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. You know how it normally goes with, with NXT being before or after a WWE pay-per-view. Usually the locker room gets rather unhappy, so that's interesting to see. But we do get the contract signing for Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. I thought this was great. I thought you get Finn, and Finn being kind of angry. We don't see him be angry very much. We see him, like, get an attitude and telling Samoa Joe, hey, like, you thought you did what you had to do, but, I'm here. Come out here and do what you got to do, So Joe gets in there and then signs the contract and walks off. And then as soon as he kind of turns around, Joe comes back in and does the heel thing and knocks Balor down, and then basically attacks him from behind or whatever. And I thought this was great because, Joe is a liked guy. So they did something to make sure that the fans in that arena would boo him. And I thought that was well done.
Yeah, I agree. And, Samoa Joe, he knows how to do this. He really does. He's done it how many years? So no surprise there. But yeah, great job in telling the story. Great job in getting heat. Overall, it was just a positive, way to start the show when it comes to getting some progress with those guys.
Well, speaking of getting progress, we got more NXT tag team. We got an NXT tag team title match here, and we got more progress from Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson as champions because they end up winning with their Shatter Machine move. But I thought this was good for the time that it got. It didn't get a whole lot of time. It was about 5 minutes or so, but they worked in some good action, and they gave you a little bit of a thought that maybe the Vaudevillains would win it back. But Dash and Dawson do their thing.
Yeah, they continue to roll, and that's exactly what we're enjoying watching. And it just makes sense for them to roll past it, and the Vaudevillains are now in limbo. You don't know what's going to happen and who's going to do what. But what you do know is these two guys are on a winning streak, and they are rolling. And I just think further success is ahead of them.
Right. So we get Enzo and Cass coming in afterwards and attacking them. So looks like we finally might get to see Enzo and Cass going for those tag titles, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because London's going to be crazy for them too. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. I'm thrilled about it. And these two guys are, one of the big positive things on NXT. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do in the future.
Well, things that maybe are not so positive about NXT. Eva Marie, she comes in and cuts a promo about the fact that she needs to be in Mr. Regal's office because she needs somewhere bigger to prepare for her match tonight. And then she literally introduces somebody that's pretty big herself, Nia Jax, as sort of her friend. So some shenanigans are going to be happening in that match with Nia Jax there. Can you believe they're really going to do this thing with Elias Sampson and the Drifter? I can't believe they're really going with this.
I can't either, but you know what? It's interesting at the least. So we'll have to see. I think not only interesting but humorous. So, but you know what? They can get away with it probably. If anyone can, they can.
Certainly, man. If he gets over, I don't know what can't get over in NXT. Really.
Yeah.
So we do get we were supposed to get the rematch between Asuka and Dana Brooke, but basically it was all a setup so that Emma could beat her down. I thought this was well done. I mean, you don't want to have Dana lose again, so it's a nice way to build heat for the match, honestly.
Yeah, it is. And, not giving the crowd what they want all the time definitely can get you heat, and this is one of those occasions. But, I hadn't have anything wrong with this. I thought it was just fine, so it was all good for me all the way around.
Well, Bayley discusses that they actually let her discuss the company being behind Eva Marie, and that because she's a wrestler and Eva isn't, that's what's going to be the difference between her winning and losing. Again, just good all around, honestly. I have complaints about that. I don't have complaints about Apollo Crews squashing Jesse Sorensen here. That's kind of what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Apollo Crews, once again, did pretty well on the microphone here to answer Baron Corbin's challenge for London.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, he's not completely 100%, the best on the mic or anything, but he's doing a really good job for a guy that's, as new as he is. And, I really thought it was something worthy of listening to, at least.
Yeah. For sure. How did you, okay, I heard a lot of people complain about this, and I liked it. I thought this was actually pretty good because we don't see this ever in NXT. Basically, you get a WWE overbooking match happening in the main event with Bayley and Eva Marie. I thought it does two things. It hides Eva Marie being basically not ready for this kind of match. It allows you to see what Eva Marie will stoop to do, hate her more, and you get Nia Jax involved in a big match like this too. I didn't see anything wrong with this. This is what you do with somebody like Bayley that the crowd is totally behind, and somebody that they hate like Eva Marie. Just find more reasons for people to hate her.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, people are already not a fan of her, and for her to find new ways, hey, that's a positive, and especially for her or for anybody that she's actually with. So, I mean, yeah, you're right on that, Sean.
How did you like the use of Nia in the match? I thought she did everything you want a big bodyguard type to do.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it, and the one thing I will have to say is that I did like that it was at the end. That she really got more involved. I'm glad it wasn't throughout the entire thing, from what I remember.
Did you like the part too with Charles Robinson coming in too? They added a WWE ref and everything.
Yeah. I've heard people call him Little Nate, and I completely agree with that. I think it is kind of funny. So yeah, it was going all the way, 100% in, bringing the ref from the main roster. I mean, that's really going all in, huh?
Yeah, really. Supposedly not to allow any shenanigans, but it was
Yeah.
shenanigans everywhere.
Yeah, especially him getting knocked off or getting shoved down. Who would have known that someone 125 pounds could knock out a grown man?
Right. I mean, Little Nate isn't that big either.
No, but he's bigger than 125 pounds. So.
Well, certainly. But that was NXT, and I thought that was a pretty good episode of NXT.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, it really wasn't, and pretty solid performance for all that was involved. So there you go, guys. All right, well, we'll be right. With
we
us.
don't have music for this.
Yeah, you're right. I keep forgetting that. But let's go ahead and just jump into it, guys. What we wanted to do a little segment for Thanksgiving, and of course, like we talked about earlier, we didn't have a chance to do the show before Thanksgiving, so we're going to go ahead and do it here. The segment,
if you listen to us more than just this year, we've done this segment before.
Yeah.
We've done it every year that we've had the podcast. So.
Yeah, so we're going to continue it this year, and it is what we are thankful for in wrestling. So, Sean, I'm going to let you start this thing off. Give me something that you're thankful for in wrestling.
I think, number one, I do like the fact that whatever it took them to realize it, I really like the way that they used John Cena for a large portion of this year with the U.S. title. I know he had his parts where you can say you didn't like the way the feuds ended, and maybe it is part of it his fault, or maybe it's not. But when have we ever cared about a secondary title that way? The way we did about John Cena's Open Challenge. And WWE really did a good job of making us, you had some surprises in there. You have people that maybe they're part of the roster, but they all had really good matches with John Cena, and it made John Cena an important person in a different way. He didn't have to be in the main event, but he made all his U.S. title matches feel like they were the main event, and it made those people he was in the match with feel that more important, and that's what you want out of the secondary. At one point, the U.S. title felt like it was the main title, or the title that WWE cared the most about, and that should and that inspires you to feel like, even though Owens is not going to go the same route, that maybe they learn from that and they go, okay, you actually need to have a strong champion. And so far, it seems like they've learned that with Owens. They're not having him lose all the time like you see a lot of old IC champions do, or anything like that. The New Day have kind of they're doing their cheap stick and all that stuff, but they don't really sit there and have them all lose and all be losers all the time like they have in previous years past. So I think
that's
they
good.
deserve credit for that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. Something that I'm thankful for this year in wrestling would have to be the fact that Hulk Hogan is not in the picture as much. I know it's a joke, but then again, it's not a joke. I think that they used to like to overuse him.
Don't give TNA any ideas.
Oh, don't no. I'm just letting him know right now. He was kind of wearing out his welcome with me, at least, and I'm sure with a lot of fans. They started kind of putting him on everything, and he was always a part of this, a part of that, and for a guy that really, he's a legend and all that, he's just not really doing it for me personally. And I think, nostalgia is nostalgia, but I mean, it's something that I'm kind of glad that we're not having to deal with on a normal basis. It's nice to get a break from him. Let's just say it that way. He wasn't around every other 6 months. He was around almost every month on something. His face was always there. I wish they could have spread that out a little bit more for me personally. So that is the one thing I'll have to say that I am thankful for this year. What else do you have, Sean? What else are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for, and I think this is something that both of us are thankful for, is the increasing amount of actually good original content for the network this year. They had the Swerve show. They have the Unfiltered with Renee Young show. I think is good. It's short, so it's not something you have to spend hours and hours watching. Same thing with Table for Three. It's 30 minutes. You get to see a different side of the wrestlers, just them having a meal, talking, about things. And I thought the New Day one was really good. You got to hear how that whole thing started and all that stuff. It's something really interesting that maybe you'll never hear about in any other context, but you'll hear it there. I think it's just a nice way to spend 30 minutes, and that's really cool. And the Breaking Ground show is something I've wished they would have done for years, and I'm glad that the networks there allowed them to do it. I mean, that's so cool that we get to see behind their motivations, why they're there, what they're doing, the training, all that stuff during it. And WWE likes it too, so it seems like they're not going to stop shooting that show. And they've showed you a lot of different angles of what different people do for NXT too, which makes it even more interesting.
Definitely. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use both my picks here for thankfulness. Me and Sean both came up with 5, and I gave you 1. I'm going to give you 2 in a row here, so I'm going to be down to 2 after this. But Breaking Ground is 1 and Table for 3. Both these shows are just spectacular. Sean just kind of gave you a little bit about them. For me personally, the reason Table for 3 I'm thankful for is because it's like watching a podcast. Because a lot of times you get these interviews or you get these discussions, wrestler to wrestler. Let's just say like a Chris Jericho interviewing a guy like Kevin Owens, or Steve Austin interviewing somebody else from the past. Like Nature Boy, Ric Flair. You don't get to see the interactions; you just get to hear them. In this show, you actually get to see them. You see it as if you were there with them, right there at the table, enjoying dinner with them. That's what I like a lot. I think it feels very much like a live podcast. It's a lot of fun. You want more usually. And Breaking Ground, Sean just mentioned it. It shows you all the in-depth parts of it. There's that show Hard Knocks on HBO, and you get excited about watching that because you get to see what the inside of a training camp's like, what coaches are like, what players are like in training camp. Same way here, you're getting a chance to see these wrestlers work out, what it takes to be a wrestler. What are the disappointments? What is their protocols on concussions? What do they have to do about this or that? How does it seem like when someone's fired? Every aspect of the business really is showcased there. It's almost like the curtains opened up completely. That's why I'm enjoying that show, and it's something I'm very thankful for. So both those are 2 on my list of thankfulness. What about you, Sean? What else do you have for us?
I think going away to another network, and something that has made it to where this podcast is better forward is New Japan World, because that's how we've really been able to cover the New Japan shows and everything. There's another and I've talked about it on this show before. There's another Japanese company that kind of has a lot of the Japanese other wrestling promotions kind of all tied into their channel, Samurai TV, and they decided to do the same thing as New Japan World, but they didn't make it available to everybody. New Japan World made themselves available to everyone, and they've increasingly made it easier for you people that don't speak Japanese. They have an English translation thing now on the website. Instead of having to use Google Translate, you don't have to do that. You just click an arrow and it becomes in English. And not only that, but I think it's just the plethora of content that you've been able to get now. You get house shows. You get the big events, obviously. You got every single day of the G1 live. I mean, that's insane. That's 19 shows that you got day after day live at whatever time you wanted to watch it. You could watch it there. You get them now for the World Tag League. You don't get them all live, but you get them there the day after. I mean, you get these shows from Taiwan. You get when they go to England. The ROH shows showed up there. I mean, it's amazing. It truly is amazing. And then the archive content goes all the way back to like 1973. I mean, goodness. I mean, so much stuff there. I mean, yeah, it's all in Japanese, and if you got to have English commentary, sucks for you, but you get to have their history right in your hands. All you got to do is click a button, and you get to watch whatever you want. I mean, they don't have everything. Like WWE Network has everything. They're still adding stuff, but, man, just so much stuff there. And it just, if you want to go back and watch New Japan stuff, I mean, it's there. And it's at your fingertips, and it's amazing. Like, I wish they could get an app where you could watch it on your TV. Hopefully that's coming at some point later. But you can get on your phone, you can watch it. You can get on your computer, you can watch it. And I think it's incredible.
I'm right there with you. I think it's an awesome network, and it's a blast to watch. It really is, because you do get a chance to see some of the history. You do get a chance to watch these shows come right out and watch them live as they go too. I mean, that's what's really needed, because you couldn't do that. You have to wait till a month later to see what happened.
Yeah, you'd have to find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
You'd have to get go get a torrent or whatever. And that's what's cool. For Gary, if he wanted to, he can go watch old Naito matches.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If he wants to see how Naito came up and stuff like that, it's cool that that's there for you.
Yeah. I totally agree. My fourth choice on what I'm thankful for in wrestling would have to be the fact that Ring of Honor is in syndication, and it is available on local TV in places. I wish Sean had it in his area, but for me it is, and it's a blessing, because honestly it'd be hard for me not to keep up with Ring of Honor if it wasn't, because I already have to fight to watch NXT on Wednesday nights. I already have to fight to watch TNA the day after on a Thursday. If ROH was still in that situation for me, I just don't know how much I'd actually get a chance to watch it before we do our regular shows on Thursday nights. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for their kind of getting out there for more people, and like I said, I'm hoping that they'll spread out. Maybe Sean and some other people around the country will get them on a regular basis on Saturdays. So that's something that I'm thankful for.
I might just get me an antenna and see if Comet shows up on my TV. I don't know. I mean, I can always take the antenna back if it doesn't. So. Well,
I'll teach you a trick how you can get away without an antenna, but it is an antenna. So.
Well, I mean, not all the. I think the one in the living room doesn't have the DTV. I have to see if the one in my room next to me has the DTV. I know not all HD. Not all of the new TVs have that. So.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll talk about that, pretty soon here. But I'm sure you have something else you're thankful for, Sean.
Yeah, I think I think we do need to give them credit for this. I mean, I know they waited a little late, and they still aren't getting it right in certain situations. But I think WWE finally coming around to the divas and understanding that what you're seeing on NXT is a revolution in a way, but it's more of it's going along with what's really happening in today's world, that it proves the women can go out there and do just as well as the men on this national stage. We've seen it in the indies before. There are all women, Shimmer, Shine, all that, the various Japanese ones, Stardom, and all the Joshi ones and everything. It's there, but you can sit there and have them on the same card as the men, and they can outperform them. And NXT has proven that. And now, I don't know that Vince will ever allow it to get to that level, But the fact that we had a contract signing main event Raw, I think that's a big step. You just got, what was it, 15 minutes for Charlotte and Paige on Raw. I mean, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the main event, but that's huge. I mean, that's a big deal. And I think that that's really great that we're finally getting to see that, you know, because, again, we've said it many times, you know, Gary and I both have daughters, and I don't know that, you know, and I will ever be a wrestling fan or anything, but I want her to be able to see that women can be in prominent positions, and you can have heroes or whatever. You can have people to look up to, you know.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that, and you know, it's really great to see that they are trying. In the years past, they would never have tried, but this time, you can actually see that they are giving an effort out to make this Divas division something special. My last thing that I am thankful for in wrestling this year has to be the New Day. Wow, they're hilarious, they're fun, they're entertaining, they're everything that you want. They're one of the biggest reasons to watch Monday Night Raw. We talk about them all the time on this podcast. So I've got to give them all the credit in the world. These guys were a group of guys that I wasn't sold were going to do much. I knew they were trying to get them and trying to use them all together because really, let's be honest, their singles careers were not going anywhere special. So they put them all together. But, man, wow, they have taken this thing and ran with it, and I love it. And I'm enjoying every time I get a chance to see him. So that's just me, though. That's something I'm thankful for.
I still feel bad for Kofi because I think it just came along a little bit too late. I still don't see that this is going to make him be used as a single star.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is more of a vehicle for Xavier Woods and Big E, but I'm so glad for Kofi that he's finally in something that makes him happy and makes him enjoy his time wrestling. And that's good because, you know, you heard him on that Table for Three where he was at a point where he's just like, man, I don't know if I care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm glad that he's able to have fun doing his job now.
Exactly. So, well, Sean, any last ones that you have?
We have, before we get out of here, Gary, we have to say, I don't think we can go without saying this, but number 5, and this isn't in any order, but thank you to Lucha Underground. My God, you gave us so many weeks of entertaining TV, just amazing television to watch. My God, it was just like every week you didn't know what you were going to get. And it was just a show that, like, it mixed in. I mean, I know there's a lot of wrestling purists that don't care about it, and I don't see it the same way. I just watch it because it's fun. Like, it has, like, cheesy storyline crap that almost can only happen in wrestling, and you watch it, because if this happened on any other show, you're just kind of like, oh, stupid. Like, I'm not. It's like almost like having Robot Chicken mixed in with my wrestling. Like, it's you know, it's cool. Like, and then you get to watch these awesome matches, and they have blood in them sometimes, and they go freaking hardcore. I mean, I think there's about, like, at least, you know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 matches. We're gonna be talking about that when we get to these end of the year awards pretty soon. That's gonna have Lucha Underground's name on it because they had some awesome freaking matches, and just Dario Cueto, man, he made that show so awesome to watch. I mean, just like the best freaking general manager I think I've seen in a long time, since maybe since Foley. I mean, just he's so good as a heel, but he's so good at what he does. You know, just, and he's an actor. He's not a wrestler. You know, just that's really cool. I mean, and who the hell ever thought we'd see somebody die? You know.
Yeah. True. Yeah, for real. But no, I'm agreeing with a lot of what Sean's saying here. And, you know, Lucha Underground is special, and it's something that's different. And in this time and day and age, it's important to be different because that's what people are looking for all the time. And so, you know, that's why I think I said a little earlier, I wish that they were on some kind of other network or, you know, on social media more. Because I think that the quality is there. I just think that people got to see it, you know. So I think, you know, if they were to ever get on Hulu or Netflix or anything else like that, a subscription service, it would do them a world of good, I feel.
And that Netflix thing would allow them to kind of be underground, really. You know, they could really build up that underground following of people being like, oh, wait, I can watch all these shows at once and really get into it, and then I can tell anybody that has Netflix to watch this too. I mean, I think more people have Netflix than they do El Rey at this point.
Yeah, oh yeah, I believe that for sure. So, but yeah, I'm right there with you, Sean. I love Lucha Underground. Can't wait for them to come back this year. It is going to be a blast. We'll definitely be covering them when they do get back on. So. Well, guys, man, those are a few things we're thankful for, and we, like I said before, we'd love to hear from you and what you think. Of course, what you're thankful for in wrestling. Send us to our Facebook page. Hey, even send us a tweet. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your opinions. Well, we got a couple more shows we're going to review for you, so let's go ahead and talk about some Ring of Honor. Some things went down that we really want to talk about, so we'll be right back with that.
Well, Gary, I mean, we had something certainly surprising happen in the main event, but let's get through this show here for a little bit. So you had Moose versus Dominic Carter, which was a total squash.
Yeah.
And then you basically had Michael Elgin coming in and saying he wants to take out part of the House of Truth here with Dijak and Jay Diesel. Of course, Moose has been kind of having this thing with Dijak recently, and they went on to have a pretty decent match, I thought. What do you think?
This whole thing kind of started out, similar to what we've seen in the past from, let's say WWE TV or anybody else, because we did see Moose come out, and of course, he had the squash match, but after that, he got, a chance to stand there while his manager kind of ran down, about the world title and all that, and you said Michael Elgin eventually come out and, kind of joke on Moose a little bit, kind of saying, who's talking here? Are you as a man, or is it just a little guy over here, talking about the manager? So I liked all that interaction. It was kind of neat, interesting, and then we do, of course, have this tag match that comes up, but overall, not bad. It was okay. Nothing super spectacular, though, I have to be honest.
Yeah. So, the other big things here are Adam Cole doing his more story time with Cole, basically.
Yeah,
I think
same old same.
Good in these.
Yeah, it's he does good. It's just, kind of the same old thing.
And Adam Cole is going to face Dalton Castle next week, so I'm going to for sure make sure I watch that. It's going to be awesome. I love the Roddy Strong video package, though, before the match, before the main event. And we also got, basically the Decade got banned from Final Battle because Carino can't be on there either. And, BJ Whitmer is also calling Nigel a liar and other stuff, doing his thing normally.
You gotta love that, him calling out Nigel, and Nigel's like, you know what, screw you, you can't be on the show. So there you go. Not a whole lot to really have to explain there, but it is kind of fun and interesting to see, that whole, thing go down.
Well, we had an ROH TV title match between Roderick Strong and Jay Lethal, and Roderick Strong makes Jay Lethal tap out to the Stronghold to become the new television champion. What did you think? I thought I didn't see Lethal losing one of the belts before the year was up, but I think it is kind of smart, as Larry kind of points out in his review, that it makes him seem vulnerable for AJ Styles coming in their Final Battle. But the match was freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, the match was great. I really enjoyed it. I mean, for anybody who hasn't seen it, go check this out. If you don't watch the whole entire episode of Ring of Honor, just watch the main event. That's all you need to watch. It was a great match. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I mean, I think it does kind of help in a way. It gives the illusion that there's a great possibility that Jay Lethal could lose his other title, and it give AJ Styles more momentum going in. But overall,
I just look at this and get excited and say, that it's nice to see a little bit of change here. It's been so long since we've seen Lethal with that title, and it's been forever. And to me, it's a big deal when a guy holds a title that long and the belt is taken away from him. So it was cool.
Certainly. So
yeah,
like at least the main event's really worth watching.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, anybody hasn't seen it yet, go check out the main event. The rest of it's good and all, but really honestly, this is the match you want to watch. Well, Sean, that kind of leaves us to one last review, and that is TNA Impact. We're going to cover that, and of course, after that, we're going to crown Superstar of the Week. Be right back.
TNA Impact Wrestling.
Oh boy, I really hope when they go to Pop TV they change that song.
I know you do.
Or I think we're gonna have to just not cover it just on the basis of that right there.
Oh man, you hate that song so much.
Yes. So this is the last of the group phase of the World Title Series. So pretty much you had. Let me get to where we're doing this here. So we had DJZ defeat Manic, and then Tigre Uno also defeated Manic. So you pretty much got your two qualifiers after those two matches happened. And then you get Drew Galloway beating Rockstar Spud. You get Bram whooping Grado in like 5 seconds. You get Jesse Goddard's beating Micah so he can move on. Davey Richards beats Robbie E. But Robbie E still moves on, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And then Kenny King beats Crazy Steve. And Lashley beats Austin Aries. So here are the round of 16 matches. It's going to be EC3 and DJZ, Bram, and no, I was wrong. Davey Richards and Bram. Lashley and Drew Galloway, that should be pretty good. Mahabali Shura and Eli Drake. Don't think I see anything great there. Tigre Uno against Gail Kim. That should be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Actually. Eric Young and Kenny King. Jesse Goddard's and Awesome Kong. I could see Jesse get whooped there. Bobby Roode and Matt Hardy. I'm not gonna lie, seeing an Awesome Kong and Bobby Roode match would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it will be.
But what did you think of TNA this week?
Overall, some okay matches. Nothing super spectacular. I can't really say that any one of these really blew me out of the water. So I think it did what its job was, and that's kind of progress these tournaments and really get it down to what the 16 that they want to be in there. But really, it's sad because I did watch this entire show, but there's nothing that really sticks out in my mind that makes me think that super special.
Aries is pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good, but I don't know. I guess maybe I've seen better matches this week, so maybe that's what makes me kind of like, whatever. Yeah, but you're right. That probably was the best match. If I can think of one, Rockstar Spud, Drew Galloway wasn't awful. I enjoyed that one a lot. So.
Yeah, Davey Richards and Robbie E wasn't too bad either.
Yeah, that's true. You make a good point with them too. But once again, though, they're not bad. But it doesn't really, make you go, wow, you got to go watch this. This is something you definitely need to go because like I said, I'll stand by, and you definitely need to go check out Roderick Strong and Jay Lethal if you don't even watch a minute of this show. So.
Yeah, I think certainly when you're looking at these matches going to the round of 16, I think certainly EC3 and DJZ could be interesting. Bram and Davey Richards. I think the only one out of the first 8, Mahabali Shura and Eli Drake. Blah. But last week, the other 3 matches are going to be good. Tigre Uno Gail Kim is going to be really interesting. We don't like EY, but him and Kenny King have good chemistry.
Yeah.
Awesome Kong maybe winning could be interesting there, and Bobby Roode and Matt Hardy are gonna give you a good match. So
yeah, for sure. So it'll be good stuff, And once again, we apologize if we're short on the TNA part, but these just really, without a whole lot of other things, there's no really segments to really break down or not a lot of talking time. So there's really no storylines here. So just not a whole lot to get into. Kind of giving you some results and kind of what we think about them, but that's about it. So. But, there's one last thing on the docket, Sean. We got to do it. It is crown a Superstar of the Week. Let's go do it.
Superstar of the Week.
All right, Sean.
all right, well, my number 5 has to go to Bayley for technically she defended her title. And number 4, I have to give to Sheamus. I'm sorry, I didn't like the move with Sheamus, but he is technically WWE Champion, but he really didn't do a whole lot to become WWE Champion, so I'm not going to give him a whole bunch of credit here. So I'm saying Sheamus at number 4. Number 3 goes to Charlotte. She defended her title at Survivor Series, and I kind of like that match, but I like the match on Raw better. And technically, it was a double count out, so she didn't lose either. So defending her title twice, that earns you a number 3 for me. Number 2, I have to give it to Roderick Strong. He wins the TV title in a great match. I have to say that I quite enjoyed it, and I think definitely recommend you guys need to watch it. And number 1 for me, Roman Reigns. He wrestled 4 times that night. The match with Alberto Del Rio was his best one. He wrestled 3 times, but the match with Del Rio was actually a pretty good match. The one with Ambrose didn't get a lot of time, but they tried to do what they could, and then Sheamus beat him. But then he wrestled on Raw, and he had a pretty good match with Rusev too, I thought. So give him a lot of credit for all that cumulative stuff and becoming technically WWE Champion for 5 minutes.
Me and Sean have exactly the same list except for the top 2. Of course, I had my own reasons as well for the bottom 3. I mean, I just think that, really, at 5, Bayley did a great job this week defending her title. 4, Sheamus is Sheamus, but he did win the title. In 3, Charlotte, once again, Sean didn't mention it. 2 matches, did a great job. Roman Reigns is my number 2 for the reason of that I really feel like, he did a great job. He really worked hard. But I don't know. He didn't end up walking away with the title for very long. Just to me, number 1 for me has to be Roderick Strong.
He didn't walk away with the title, so.
Well, yeah, you're right.
In the ring with it.
That's good. That's good, Sean. You're right. That is, technically correct. But Roderick Strong did walk away with his title. And proudly holding on to it. So that's why I had to give him number 1. Plus, I love that match. It was just
I'm going to say Roderick Strong is going to get our Superstar of the Week, beating the Timebreaker, because Roman Reigns has won it quite a few times. Roderick Strong had the better match of all the matches. I don't think any of the matches that were on Survivor Series or on Raw will hold a candle to what you'll see in that ROH match. So that, along with having a new champion and it being somebody different, I think, hey, we're all about change and having new people. So
yeah, and not only that, I mean that's a big deal. I mean, like I said, Jay Lethal held that title forever, so this is a much bigger deal.
For sure.
So, and I think Paul would agree with this. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I'm curious to see what he'll say. But I think he would agree with this. So there you go. Roderick Strong, you're your Superstar of the Week, everybody. And we're really happy that he did get that title. It's really, really cool. So, man, well, once again, we've had a fun show. I am so thrilled that we got a chance to do it. I know we came to everyone so late this week, but we did it. We got through it. And we had a lot of fun going through everything. And we wanted to make sure we give all the thanks to Chris Limsky for calling in. He is the 4th co-host of this show, so it was great to have him be a part of it tonight. And, of course, thank you to our awesome call-in tonight, Really thank Toph for calling in and giving us some of his thoughts. Really great discussion there. But besides that, we want to let everybody know we'll be back next Thursday, God willing. Then nothing changes, no other issues pop up. There shouldn't be, because it won't be a holiday week this week. And of course, we'll get back to our normal thing and break down more quick hits, break down what's going on in the rest of the world of wrestling. So, Sean, I'll let you kind of get into some more plugs here.
Yeah, I mean, we did our, well, by the time you're hearing this, those games are already being played or about to be played, so I don't think I can really get you to probably listen to it anymore, but we did do our rest of Week 12 preview on the Football to Football show. We recapped those Thanksgiving games, so if you want to hear our thoughts on Thanksgiving games, I guess you can listen to that whenever. And then did we have we had a topic about the NFL parody, and we had Anthony call in, so he talked about his Eagles and stuff like that too. So there's quite a few things going on there. If you want to listen to it, it's out there. I had to cancel Co-op Multi for the week. We're gonna be hopefully, now that we're back on the regular schedule with the podcasts, we don't have a holiday again until Christmas Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Hopefully we should be back to, we might, I just, the thing with, Co-op Multi is it's really based around the news, so if I do one, say on Monday, it's going to be really hard to have enough news to do one on Thursday too. So I'll just see how we're doing. I do have Tuesday off, as well as Thursday, so I might just decide to do it for 2 days. But we will have one this week for sure, if you're missing that in your daily or weekly fix of me talking about video games with Mark there. So we'll get that, and of course Monday night after the Monday night game, which that one's gonna be one that's gonna be hard to sit through.
Yeah.
Between the Ravens and Browns, we will have our recap of NFL Week 12, so we'll be talking about all those Sunday games that happened. Quite a few interesting games that could decide a few things. So that should be good to listen to. And again, listen to our buddies on the Raw Reaction, of course, and the TWN After Darkness with Steven Randall. Listen to him, and just thank you for supporting us. Thank you for listening. If this is your first time, we appreciate it. And hope we should have Paul back next week, or later this week, I guess technically, and then. Just wherever we are podcast wise, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever you want to listen, hear us. Thank you, and subscribe. Write that review on iTunes and Stitcher, helps out a lot. And of course, you can go join the Wrestling Max Facebook group. Hopefully, it can gain more people and have more conversations there. It's always welcome. Go like that W2M Network Facebook page. Go subscribe to the W2M Network channel on YouTube. Those are all good things to go do.
Definitely. So there you go, guys. And like I said, we thank you for everything. And we hope you all have a wonderful week this week. And we will catch you back up on Thursday. But until then, we want you to always remember, if you're not living life to the max,
you're not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.